I was you. You the boss? You hand over that cash, or I'm gonna cut some daylight into you.
Oh, listen here, mister. We got no way to understand this world. We got about as much sense of it as a bird flying in the sky. There's a lot that bird don't know. But it don't change the fact that the world is happening to him all the same. What I'm trying to say is that the course of your life, it is changing. You don't even see it.
What are you talking about?
Damn. Go! Yep. That's what he's talking about.
Yeah, I want to get into this racket. But I see you sitting there looking like somebody's punching bag. So I ask you, what do you intend to do now?
What do I intend to do?
Yeah. You expect somebody else to handle it?
No, that ain't what I meant.
What did you mean?
I need the help.
I'm sorry?
I don't need the help.
Well, you don't. Here it is. As long as you are my brother, you will never let this happen again. Do you understand? I don't think you do.
What if I can't? I'm not built like you, and I ain't never been like you.
All right. It is not the violence that sets man apart. All right, it is the distance that he is prepared to go. Look at me. We are survivors. We control the fear. And without the fear, we are all as good as dead. Do you understand? Do you?
Message is being broadcast by the Department of Defense of the Republic. At 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, multiple unidentified objects were confirmed to have entered Earth's atmosphere.
Discovery Houston, 20 seconds to LOS T-drift.
The first message that comes to you is you are a divine being. You matter. You count. You come from realms of unimaginable power and light, and you will return to those realms.
The vast stretches of the unknown and the unanswered and the unfinished still far outstrip our collective comprehension.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting from Forest Tower Studios, all the way from the Deep South. Now, here is your host, Joe Root.
Broadcasting from a shack, back at the shack on a hill in the mossy creek bottoms of Cane Creek, Arkansas. This is Lighting the Void, and I'm your host, Joe Root. Thank God, it's good to be back. It's Wednesday night, January the 8th, on into the night. Tonight, author and researcher Elana Freeland is back, and this time we're going to do it right. We only had like an hour last time when she was here on the show, and guess what happened? The lights went out. Everything went out on us, so it's time to kick the tires and light the fires, because after a 2-week break and some formidable broadcast from a hotel room, I'm ready to go to work. And so you're going to be hearing some new things get implemented into the show as we go along. All right, so we got to thank our sponsors here. GetTheTea.com, the biggest sale you can get is going on right now. Buy 2 bags of tea, get 1 free. That's it. GetTheTea.com, go get it. Get yourself cleansed. And I'm doing all kinds of cleansing right now. Any kind of cleanse you can imagine, I'm probably going to do it. Just to do it. It's time to do that. It's January. Make your resolutions. Also, AncientLifeOil.com, the best CBD oil on the planet, and Metaphorical Archaeology. If you've had a paranormal experience that's caused you trauma or post-traumatic stress, you can get a free session with Barbara at Metaphorical Archaeology. Give them a call at 214-995-3754. Now, I haven't really told you guys the whole story about everything that happened to me in Portland, so I had a pretty wild night there Saturday night, and I'm going to talk about that later in the show after we talk to Alana. But, I got to hang out with Clyde most of the time. Actually, it was pretty cool. A few nights we hung out. We'll talk about all that stuff later because I know y'all are going to want to hear the story. Probably one of the wildest nights I've ever had in my entire life, and I was 3,000 miles away from home, totally on my own. So we'll do that later in the show. Also, want to give a big shout out to UFO Seekers, backed and supported by the Fringe FM and Lighting the Void. Tim has had to put a hiatus on his show again on the station, but he still partners with us. He's just really had to get back down to work again. So that's part of it, but he wants everybody to know that he loves radio and he's going to do it as much as he can when he can. But if you've had a sighting, you need to give him a call at 661-UFO-7889. Go check out their channel at youtube.com/UFO Seekers. And if you want to call into the show during I would say the second part of our conversation, you can. That call-in number is 1-800-588-0335. You can also join the chat room if you'd like. The chat room is over at Discord, or if you just go to the Fringe FM, click on chat, or the fringe.fm/chat. That'll take you to the welcome room. You got to look at the channels on the left and then go to the main hall. The welcome room is just to welcome the rules and all that stuff. So yeah, we're getting a bunch of new stuff coming into the station. Later this week, we're getting a new encoder and we're getting that nice profanity delay. Thank goodness for that. Right. So I'm pretty sure after this, any excuse for syndication is not going to be there. We're going to have everything we need. Thanks to you guys. Thanks to everybody that's participating in that as well. And all of you guys that helped, you know who you are, Markham, Amandala, everybody. I mean, there's so many names that helped when I was in Portland. And because of that, I'm going to give y'all one hell of a story in the third hour. I promise you that. But we need to talk about more important things right off the bat with Miss Elana Freeland here. And she's back with us tonight. And she's a writer, ghostwriter, storyteller, and teacher who researches and writes on the deep state issues like geoengineering, MK Ultra, ritual abuse, and invasive electromagnetic weapons. She is best known for Chemtrails, HAARP, and the full spectrum dominance of planet Earth. She talks about these subjects as well in Under An Ionized Sky, from Chemtrails to Space Fence Lockdown, and that's one of her books, and is now writing the third book in the series, which will be about synthetic biology and transhumanism, which is the big thing that's on everybody's mind right now. I know they were talking about that earlier, and Jason Lindgren was in Secrets of Saturn. Now, having come of age in the eye of the 60s, a maelstrom, Alana has also written a 4-book fictional format series, Sub Rosa America, which is a deep state history about the hidden history of America since President John F. Kennedy's televised assassination. And most recently, she wrote the story, What Would Solon Have Done, for the 2017 book, If I Were King, Advice for President Trump, edited by Harry Blazer, with an introduction by Catherine Austin Fitz. Now, her undergraduate degree was in creative writing with a second major in biology, and her Master of Arts degree from St. John's College in Santa Fe, New Mexico, concentrated on historiography, and she lives in Olympia, Washington. And I'm going to say this time, we're going to kick this thing off with no tech issues and no interference, because I've done a big ward around this whole thing. So I think we're going to have a lot better time this time. Alana, thanks for coming on the show. I really appreciate it.
Thanks. Yeah, I do remember that, Joe. We just couldn't win the last time.
No, I mean, we did. We really did try like everything to get on, and it didn't matter. Like everything shut off.
You it seemed to me you thought there was an Arkansas storm. Was there a storm up there in the sky at this time?
Yeah, there was something going on, but it was weird because usually, like, if Skype goes down, then I can call you. It wouldn't let me call you. It wouldn't let me do anything.
Right.
So I was like, well, this night's just not going to happen. And so we went from there. And I know I talked to you. I was going to talk to you about Rudolf Steiner, but I didn't, haven't really got to study that much on it. So I'm kind of more interested in what you're writing now, although your third book about transhumanism. But I got to ask you, do you got any thoughts on this stuff that's going on with the war right now with Iran and Iraq? I mean, did you see this coming as part of the global picture?
Well, I mean, whenever a president, I have noticed over the years, whenever a president is looking for a second term, there's always going to be some sort of saber rattling going on in the world. That's just the program. The same thing happened with Obama. I think every president, I expect it at the 4-year mark. So I'm sure there's something serious as well, but I don't ever knee jerk on that. Like, oh my God, we're going to war. I don't do that because I've been tracking these guys, these global elites and their minions in government positions for at least 3 decades. So I'm just very interested in seeing how they play out the Middle East one more time. I mean, they tried to squeeze Russia for the big bear for the Trump attack, and that just doesn't have any juice anymore. Going to have to, I guess we're moving on to China is now the number one enemy. So all that to me is the usual status quo drama. Life is but a stage and we're all players on it. It's more the geoengineering picture that is much, in my mind, much more important. Not just because it's my topic and I've written books on it. No, it's the deeper I've gone into this topic of geoengineering, the more I see how this is the road to transhumanism. At the same time, you've got the UN doing its thing with Australia, and before that with California. So, we've got a lot going on now, and I can understand that people are feeling a little anxious. This is not the world we had even 10 years ago. So I totally agree with that. We are in a transitional period, and some of the things that we're accustomed to, like the saber rattling going on now, that's like old school. But there's some very new stuff that, unfortunately, we're not being told about, and things are being moved into place very quietly for a very different world under globalization. So that's kind of the direction I'm going to go. I don't pay too much attention to these so-called politics because there's a whole other politic going on that I think that people need to know about for their health, for their mental health, for their children and their grandchildren's health. And that's what I'm dedicating myself to with this last third book.
Well, the chemtrail thing, I've got to tell you, on the plane ride back from Portland, as the night sky started getting lower, when I looked over when the sun kind of just began to set and I looked over the sky, it was clear in Arkansas, but there was this haze that's usually there. It's always there, but it looked really nasty. And over the top of it, there was this like blackish brown musk looking thing all the way through. And I've never seen anything like that. Even the lady that was sitting beside me, she traveled all the time. And I said, do you know what that is? And she said, I don't know what that is. That doesn't look right to me. And on the window, I kind of really like stared at it as hard as I could. And there were little like hairs. I don't know what that is. Could be ice particles maybe, but it looked really weird. And it just didn't seem right to me at all.
Well, I think you nailed it. I mean, the little hairs, those are my guess is, I'm not there with my 60 power little handy dandy microscope, but my guess is those are the fibers. And there are fibers being delivered to us from the jets and from the rockets, the rocket launches we have, that we should be extremely concerned about, because this is the nanotechnology that we've never really been told about. We're hearing rumors here and there, and certainly in the biology sector, they're using it, and in the engineering sector, they're using it. But I mean, we've got this fiber thing coming from the jet trails and the rockets that we are breathing in and we are eating, in particularly in GMO foods, but in organic as well, because they're falling from the sky. So the vaccinations may even have them in it, but they certainly have nanotech in them. So these are the three delivery systems that I concentrate on in this next book. It's so weird, Joe. When I started all this, not quite a decade ago, I was friends with Clifford Carnicom, who is the scientist who was probably the first gathering precipitation from what was falling from the sky back in northern New Mexico. We both lived down there at that time, and we became friends, and we began to sort of share information. I had a biology major. He was a real scientist, but I was very interested in what he was finding. And it was through him that I really got involved in all of this. I had no idea it would be a decade of my life, but the deeper in I go to this, the more I understand how this is connected to the Agenda 21, the 2030, to a lockdown going on through wireless technology. I mean, it's like almost every issue that you could even mention that people are concerned about today, I'll bet it's tied to geoengineering. And I'm not making that up, and I don't have to really push it in order to make it fit my paradigm. It's just that between wireless technology and the chemicals being dumped from the jets and rockets, we have a situation in which not only is our atmosphere ionized, battery ready, antenna ready for trillions and trillions of wireless operations that the military industrial intelligence complex feels it needs to be number one in for full spectrum dominance, but it also is impacting our health here below. And that's super, super important to me, because it isn't just the health, it's the genetics. It's the future of humanity. And I've got kind of a complex now. I'm like Miss Bad News on a lot of this, because I do feel the public, even in a national security state like we live in, the public deserves to know if they are at risk. And that's what I'm saying, is that, I think there's some simple things people can do to prepare themselves for this deluge that's coming from the sky, while they are watching the show of this amazing era we're living in. And I want to spend time on that for sure. But I want to explain to people how it works so that they understand what is inside their bodies and their brains, that they need to now. Going to a doctor won't help. Going to even a naturopath won't help, because the disinformation around this issue of the chemical trails, HAARP, the High Frequency Active Auroral Research Project, all the other ionospheric heaters, all the radar installations, and the whole package that I call the space fence. The disinformation is so thick that we're not going to get through the whole thing. But doctors, naturopaths, health experts, most of them either don't know about this, like the fibers you saw outside the airplane, they don't know about it, or they're complicit, or they're waiting for someone else in a position of authority who's done a lot of microscope work to come forward and say, yeah, this is true. I don't know why there's such a silence, but at the same time, you can see how frenetic everybody is with one issue after another, bam, 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 coming at us on the news, on the internet, on radio shows, talk shows.
Right.
I mean, I understand how people feel overwhelmed, but what we really have to do is contextualize this so that we can prioritize our concerns and take remedial steps to prevent these things from undermining us over time, because this is going to go on and on and on. It's like the electromagnetics that now people are realizing, oh, I shouldn't put that cell phone up against my brain because it's a transmitter. And the 5G and the vaccination fears and all of this stuff, we've got to be able to prioritize by contextualizing the danger. Is it an orange state? Is it a red state? Is it a blue state? That's kind of where I come in, because not everybody can spend their entire life researching this stuff and writing books on it. So I want to share that information in whatever way you want, if that's the direction you want to go in.
Well, I'm mainly concerned about, what we can do about it. Because, I mean, it's obvious that chemtrails are real. It's obvious the transhumanism movement's here. I mean, it's not coming. We can't talk about, oh, it's coming. It's coming. It's here. I mean, it's here. It's here in max, and it's coming faster and faster, and it's growing. And now we've got war to distract us from everything. So, but by the time, I feel like by the time this war settles, if it settles at all, that's coming, it's going to be, that's when they really implement stuff. I'm not saying that they're just using war as a distraction, but these people are so crafty with what they do. It's incredible, It
is. And this is not just in this era, though this era has an extraordinary technology, all stolen from Tesla. Nikola Tesla, who was, just a sheer genius, and came to the United States with hope in his heart that the land of the Bill of Rights would see that he had the technology that would provide free energy for everyone. Everybody could just tap into the free energy. He knew how to do it. He knew how to build the mechanisms by which this would be available to us. But instead, what greeted him were greedy industrialists like J.P. Morgan and the Rockefellers, and so he was harnessed. He was imprisoned because this technology certainly requires a lot of money in order to get the exactly measured, calibrated things needed in order to do this on a planetary level. So I think it's amazing. You must know this. But it's only been a rumor. It has not been in the mainstream press, I don't think, that President Trump's uncle, John Trump, was the man. He was a physicist. He was the physicist that picked up Tesla's papers at his death in New York in 1943. And he was the man who decided where those papers should go as the United States began to look seriously at weaponizing Tesla technology. I mean, isn't that amazing?
Yeah, I don't doubt it. One bit.
I think it's very much a part of why this particular president was chosen. But anyway, the technology began, and let me just kind of go back a little bit before we move to what people can do. I don't think you can't just take my word for it, right? if you start back in the 80s with the Reagan, Bush, George H.W. Bush, Dick Cheney triumvirate running this country, you come to the a program called the SDI, Strategic Defense Initiative, what we like to call the Star Wars program, and that's when it started. But they couldn't go forward with it the way they wanted to. It was supposedly a missile defense program, but it was a heck of a lot more than that. They just weren't talking about it. So they had to table it, and in military language means it went black. So through President Clinton, it was still sort of there, but not talked about. And this all has to do with what Catherine Austin Fitts calls the secret space program. And that's important because that's not just a sidebar to this story. Because what they're doing now regarding the stuff coming out of the jet engines and auxiliary systems of chemicals, particulates, nanoparticulates, those fibers you saw, this is all about the secret space program. In a way, initially, I thought we were just collateral damage because it isn't just us breathing this, right? It's the animals. The animals are breathing this, and the trees are dying. Why are the trees dying? Well, aluminum oxide is a huge reason because we're also breathing in heavy metals on a very nano, tiny scale. And one of those metals is a lot of aluminum because aluminum is cheap. It provides good chaff that you need in order to have wireless operations. It also has 4 times the surface area that all other metals have, even though other metals are good at conductivity as well. In fact, probably better, like lithium, barium, strontium. So these metals are sort of quicken the electricity in the air, where you really know that the atmosphere is not what it used to be, is pretty much in the summer. Or if you live in a climate where it's hot all year round, you're going to notice it because the kind of heat that it's producing because of the presence of all these heavy metals that are falling from the stratosphere down into the troposphere, but are really always there because, hey, they're running these jets every day, in case people haven't noticed. And so you get this heat that is like, I've heard people describe it like, oh, geez, I feel like I'm in a microwave oven. Yeah, that's what you feel like. So this ionizing of the atmosphere with all the heavy metals and then zapping it with radar from radar installations and NEXRADs and anything that'll zap, lasers. They make a soup up there that makes it so that they can do 24/7 massive wireless operations. And not just here in the troposphere, but with the satellites, with what's going on above the planet in the stratosphere and above.
Yeah.
Because this is the secret space program. And
I want to talk to you about that too. I want to get into that just a little bit more. We do got to take our break here, but I want to get into what this agenda is with the secret space program, how all of this kind of works together with all of these different organizations and what's going on right now, and help us look into this a little bit deeper as well as find some solutions. We'll be right back with Elana Freeland. You guys stay with us.
This is Corbin, son of the one and only Joe Root, and you're listening to The Fringe FM.
I think by now we can get the information.
I love magic, and on Lighting the Void, each and every week, you will get to hear shows about magic, mysticism, and many other subjects that stretch your mind and imagination. So when I got my mind on the magic and the magic on my mind, I listened to Lighting the Void on the Fringe FM. It's magic.
May the gods look with favor upon you.
You're wondering what we're going to do to you, aren't you?
Ew, yuck. They're unhealthy and gross. Bugs, I hate bugs. We keep a clean home, but occasionally bugs show up. Well, I found something that is tougher than bugs. Orange Guard. From contact, it kills bugs. Plus, Orange Guard kills hidden bugs and keeps new bugs away for weeks. I know. I use Orange Guard. Plus, all of the ingredients of Orange Guard are on the FDA generally regarded as safe list. Orange Guard may be used around food, humans, and pets. It promotes a healthier planet, and here's a bonus. Orange Guard cleans where it's sprayed. Plus, it comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Orange Guard.
You can get Orange Guard at Ace Hardware. And listen, folks, Orange Guard is tougher than bugs, and it's safe to use. Go to orangeguard.com. That's orangeguard.com.
Okay, nurse, let's get this man to the ER stat.
Right away, doctor.
We see this every day. Heart attack or angina pain due to blocked and clogged arteries. Chelation can remove obstructions or blockages from arteries and help avoid painful and expensive surgery. Now there's Angioprim. It's a liquid oral chelation product that you take with juice. You start to feel the results fast. Angioprim increases blood flow all over the body, and that means more energy and strength to take on the day with less aches and pains. 60 years of research has gone into chelation, and Angioprim is the result. A safe and easy way to unblock your veins and arteries from buildup that slow circulation.
Paging Dr. Jones. Please report to the emergency room right away.
Log on now to angioprim.com. That's ANGIOPRIM.com. Or to speak with a trained consultant. Give Angioprim a call at 954-882-7221. That's 954-882-7221.
Okay, here we go. AncientLifeOil.com. AncientLifeOil.com. Now this is for CBD. AncientLifeOil.com. Again, for CBD. Where do I get CBD? AncientLifeOil.com. It's pretty good stuff. Organic, non-GMO. We are the Ferrari of CBDs. AncientLifeOil.com. You know, they say when you mention a person's name 3 times when you first meet, that you're going to remember. So I'd say to you, nice to meet you, AncientLifeOil.com. It's AncientLifeOil.com, right? Nice to know that you help people. AncientLifeOil.com. Think about this. Occasional stress, occasional anxiety, occasional inflammation, occasional stiffness, and intruders that get you down. AncientLifeOil.com. Okay, so I'm going to give you a fact for the day. So Ancient Life Oil does not help you with business deals. Hold on a second. If you feel better, it could help you make a better decision. Okay, I'm wrong. Just remember to go to AncientLifeOil.com.
All right, everyone. This is Justin from the UK. Excuse the chitty. If you're into the fringe and you want to hear the brass tacks, me old China plate, Joe Roop and his guests on Lighting the Void will open your mince pies. You need to shut your north and south and use your 10-speed gears and listen to them bubble. You could hear a Barry Crocker, no Brussels, but he ain't no holy friar. Anyway, you be the Barnaby Rudge and take a butcher's.
To call Joe, pick up the phone, dial 1-800-588-0335, toll free from the United States or Canada. You're listening to Lighting the Void Radio.
Elana Freeland is our guest tonight, back with us on Lighting the Void, discussing her new writing that she's currently working on, talking about transhumanism, as well as tonight we've been talking about chemtrails and how it all's playing together. This new Space Force thing that's coming out this year, too, is kind of making me wonder what's really going on. You know, there's so much going on behind the scenes for me to pretend like that I know anything about it would be a total lie to you. But Alana actually has done quite a bit of research on this. And what, in your opinion, based on your research, is the Space Force really there for? What's this thing about? And what does it have to do with the satellites and the global warming and the chemtrails? Does it even coincide with that?
Yeah, the Space Force is the fact that it's been announced during Trump's first part of his presidency is crucially important. We are, it's like when he came to office, I don't know if people remember this, but he was in, it was 2017, the election was over, there was all sorts of grumbling, and into office he goes right away. David Keith, the geoengineer poster boy in Bill Gates' back pocket. David Keith comes forward, haven't heard from him in a while, and he says, well, gee, you know, I've been telling you that we might have to do geoengineering because of the climate change, global warming, and gosh, we're going to have to do it. So here's what we're going to do. So it's sulfates, it's this, it's that, and since 2017, all sorts of things that were much more secret have been announced, and it's gone public. So, you know, we've had geoengineering for 20 years plus. 20 years. We've been breathing this crap. And, you know, it's been denied. And everyone calls you a conspiracy nut or a tinfoil hat. And now, hey, it's legitimate. It's been legitimized. So I wasn't surprised when Trump brought up the idea of the Space Force. And if you notice, you'd have to be really very observant these days, because a lot of things are happening really quietly. And this is part of it. The Space Force is in a way the sixth armed force, but really it's going to be run by the Air Force. So there you go. That's a little different from a sixth armed force. And I want to just kind of cover the secret space program. The secret space program started when we brought SS officer Wernher von Braun over here back before World War II was even over. We brought him here in 1937. And he was working on rockets, but he was also working on saucer technology, exotic propulsion, the Tesla stuff.
Right.
And that's how long we've had this secret space program. Now, of course, Kennedy came in. When he came in, you know, we'd already had Sputnik, and in comes Kennedy, and he has a dream of a space program. He wants to run it internationally. He wants to run it with the Russians. What? Says the Joint Chiefs of Staff. What? Run it with the Russians? No way. So that was Kennedy's vision of an international, friendly, wow, we're going into space. We're going to see some amazing things. We're going to have amazing technology. That's all been weaponized. That's all in the past. That dream that certainly our military never had, and the fact that we had brought all these Nazi scientists and engineers in under Operation Paperclip at the end of World War II, we had a tremendous scientific pool of brilliant scientists who had been working on a secret space program of their own all the way through the war and before the war. Well, so there's a big backlog to this. It's not just boom, it happened.
Right. It's not just like an overnight. See, this is where I get confused too, because I think they're real crafty. Now I'm going to throw a name out there. All right. I think it's safe to do that at this point in the game. You know, we got people like, you know, Corey Good and David Wilcock and other people giving us these secret space program stories that a few people, like Cliff High and others that went out and they really challenged these guys. And I'm glad they did, because we need to challenge that stuff too. But I wonder sometimes just how crafty they are. Are they really putting like people on our plate, or do they just let that go as a distraction? Because the real secret space program is based on what you're talking about, has absolutely nothing to do. It doesn't even sound close to all the stories that we've been being told at all.
Well, yes, with the two people you mentioned, I don't believe them at all. They're disinfo guys. I don't know if they're knowledgeable about being disinfo, but they're being used. We have these craft. We've had these craft since the end of World War II, but they've been developed a lot more since then, and ionizing the atmosphere was part of that. You couldn't get, even Tesla said that you were going to have to use the ether, which, by the way, has been banned as a scientific term since the 1920s. But it is the ether that these ships use the fuel of. There is no rocket fuel on there. There is no nuclear fuel on there. It is all ether, is how these ships are run. And Tesla is the one who discovered this and why his research was stolen. And he died in poverty, in ignominy. I mean, it's an ugly, ugly story as usual regarding an inventor and how used and exploited they are by the ones with power. But when we look up and we see these, of course, you're going to have programs just like Bluebird, just like MJ-12 of the past. You're going to have military programs of propaganda and disinformation and spin, because this technology is huge. I mean, it's huge. That you can go 37,000 miles an hour from breakneck speed from just 3 seconds. In 3 seconds. That's what, I mean, so of course they would keep it secret, and of course they would lay a layer or 10 layers or 100 layers of disinfo over them, because even the, what's that called, the one Stephen Greer is running too, the disclosure, and they even have it in, I don't know, it was in Senate chambers or House of Reps or what, but, even that is fallacious, is full of holes. It's really only if I just pulled out a few things that really I loved reading, and I highly recommend if you want to understand this saucer tech and get it, out of the hands of the disinfo guys, the spin doctors. Nick Cook, Nick Cook writes for Jane's Defense Weekly. I mean, it's the greatest, the #1 military magazine in the world. Nick Cook wrote that book in 2001 called The Hunt for Zero Point, Inside the Classified World of Anti-Gravity Technology. I wouldn't say that he's doing chapter and verse on the truth necessarily. I don't know him. But I certainly was able to read the book and glean a lot from it, because I had already done some research of my own, certainly a lot on the Nazis and paperclip. But the other one I would recommend that I like is Joseph Farrell's The SS Brotherhood of the Bell, the Nazis' Incredible Secret Technology. And in there, Joseph is going deep into various aspects of the research that have been completely covered over and hidden from us. And then finally, Catherine Austin Fitts' Solari report, she had one in 2018 called Who's Who and What's Up in the Space-Based Economy. Space-based economy. I mean, she's looking at that $21 trillion that's missing from our budget. Like, whoa, wait a minute, where'd that go? And positing the possibility that it was poured straight into the secret space program. So by Trump announcing the Space Force, it's sort of, okay, it's here. We're having wars in space. We're using directed energy weapons. We don't really care about missiles anymore. Really don't. I mean, you can use missiles for it's kind of like the nuclear material. We're using DU, depleted uranium on things, and for small conventional weapons. But really the name of the game now, which they're not talking about, is directed energy. That is the weapon of the day. And that is the one that Khrushchev mentioned a long time ago as being scary, scary, scary. And, maybe we shouldn't do this kind of thing. So there's the space. Let's just say that's the secret space program with its own economy. NASA, of course, is very involved in it. The founding of NASA is completely a fairy tale. And if you dig and see how it really was founded, you'll understand that there's a lot going on that's straight out of the Nazis and what they were doing by not even the end of World War II, but at Peenemünde and everywhere else in Germany, they were producing this exotic propulsion technology. And we have it, and we have made it even better.
Could it be some of the stuff that we saw to the stars that we're claiming as UFOs? The Nimitz, the craft, the stuff that we saw with To the Stars Academy. Could that just be military? I mean, we have, we've got some research that it's not really finalized, but I can tell you that Tim Doyle from UFO Seekers has showed us a couple of videos of some craft that explain the movements of those craft that they're saying are UFOs or alien. In other words, like you're saying, they've been here already.
Right, and to pull the word alien out is just so sad to me that people don't understand how far human intelligence has gone. We're not idiots here. Unfortunately, like you said, they're crafty, and crafty is exactly the word I would use. They're straight out of the craft, and the craft is a very magical, occult way of looking at the world that the Nazis shared with certainly NASA higher ups and a lot of very pragmatic scientific men in the American space program when the Nazis arrived in 1945. They were all pretty naive, and the Nazis really sort of remade all those guys. And part of it was the occult craft that they follow, which is not something that I admire at all. It's like getting your information maybe from sources that are really despise human beings as being frail, fragile, vulnerable, imperfect, not finished. So, let's finish them by hooking them up to artificial intelligence. Let's make some cyborgs out of them that can go on these exotic propulsion craft to other planets and other star systems, where their flesh, the very fragile, vulnerable flesh of the human body, has been completely transformed. I really think, Joe, that lies at the core of the transhumanist movement. It isn't just to see how we can enhance the human being so that it's fast as a leopard, strong as a bear, etc. No, I think, or even the super soldier. It's not just about that. It's also about the secret space program and being able to take human beings into ships and zip around our solar system to really look at the empirism of that next, after planet Earth has full spectrum dominance. And
now, are you talking about making our bodies unaware, mind you, making our bodies capable of space travel through this?
Yes,
okay.
And our brains especially. In fact, they may not even want the body to go with the brain. I don't know. But they definitely want something, an AI-controlled relationship with the human brain that they can then use in leaving our particular atmosphere and going at least in our solar system and possibly beyond. And that idea comes from when I read Farrell's Covert Wars and Breakaway Civilizations, and he wrote in 2012. He talks about the Soviet astronomer Nikolai Kardashev, and Kardashev named 3 phases of technological achievement for any civilization aspiring to a real space age. And the first phase is what they're doing now. This is globalization. This is the UN 21st century. This is the 2030. The first phase is full spectrum dominance over your planet. Full spectrum dominance means total control. Doesn't just mean military control for enemies. No, it means cultural control. It means social control. It means neurological control, all of these levels. And that's what's going on now. The only thing that has amazed me, really, is the speed with which this is being done. It's just phenomenal to me. But I shouldn't have been as surprised as I was, because once you've got an ionized atmosphere, and you've got a lot of, let's see, we've got 1,700 American bases around the world loaded for bear with radar, big-time radar installations. And we've got not just the HAARP ionospheric heater up in Alaska, we've got HAARPs all over the planet, and most of them are mobile now and smaller. So, we are armed to the teeth on this planet. And now they are, as you know, targeting many, many thousands of people as guinea pigs to work out the directed energy weapons and train agents of how to control small populations, individuals, various races, various ethnic groups, so that they can have full spectrum dominance, control over the planet, before they go on to phase 2 of Kardashev's system, which would be control over our star and its systems. And they are fast moving into that. A lot of people think that, that this solar minimum is a problem. Not really. It's providing them with experience for how to use it and exploit it for their own purposes, weather and other purposes. And then the last third phase is control over the galaxy and its system. So I mean, it sounds outrageous, right, to people like you and me, like, what? It's one thing to say you want to be president of Amazon and make a pile of money and control a lot of people, but it's sure another thing to say you want to control the galaxy. But this I think is accurate, and we are at the first phase of full spectrum dominance, planetary control over planet Earth, and that's what geoengineering is all about.
Well, I mean, let's look at it. Let's look at this with some real common sense here. If you was to run even a Fortune 500 company, how many years in the future do you think you need to be planning for? Just a company. So,
well, yeah, but you're thinking it's just an individual.
No.
Right?
I'm just saying common sense would tell us that governments and big corp and AI tech and all this stuff, if we look at just regular companies, how many years they plan ahead, how many years do you think these people are planning ahead?
Oh, yes. They've been on this for over 100 years. Absolutely.
Yes, so common sense would tell you that they're going to do that anyways, right? If you really think about it.
Well, and I think the thing that I'm a little irritated over, a little more than little, is one, we haven't been informed at all. Of course, we live in a national security state. Who am I kidding? And two, the price that people are paying with no knowledge and being manipulated by fantasies and mainstream media that lie consistently. This is a really shoddy way to do this. It's almost as if, and I do believe that a lot of these men belong in secret brotherhoods, because that certainly was practically Kennedy's last speech. Right. Was about secret societies.
Yeah, Skull and Bones for sure. I mean, come on.
Freemasons. Let's just spell it out here.
Well, see, I don't know. I would have to. Yeah, see, I don't know about that one because I've been.
Tell me you're a Freemason.
Well, I've been in Freemasonry my whole life, and so is my family. Now,
yeah, but
for me to tell you, yes, Scottish rite, but in truth, there's really no higher degree than a third degree Mason. All the other stuff is branched off, it's just branches of Masonry. Now, however, I can tell you that I don't know everything about the tops of these societies. And I also know that whether you become a York Rite Mason or Scottish Rite Freemason, you can go both ways. I mean, one's more Christian than the other. Work your way all the way up to the top, and you'll never see anything fancy or anything like that. There are other societies inside of Freemasonry that do happen to recruit people,
Yes. Yes.
There's no doubt about that.
It has changed a great deal. It has changed a great deal from the 1700s, for example. And so we don't have to talk about Freemasonry, but I want to make clear that when you have a brotherhood that is based on a hierarchy of degrees, you have a real power instrument, because depending on the degree you are, you may have to subject yourself to another brother in order to do something that you may not think is so right. But you're going to have to do it because you're part of that system. And I think that's the key word here is systems, institutions, associations, systems. These things that get so big, who do you hold responsible? How can you possibly hold anyone responsible, especially with the shell game that goes on of CEOs and the changes of name of various organizations? I think if I were to look at our main problem in America, it would be institutions and our relationship with them as individuals.
Right.
This is a huge problem for a democratic republic, which we no longer are, by the way.
Just to give you an example of what you're talking about, I don't participate in Freemasonry here in Arkansas because they don't follow the morals the whole thing is a moral system, and they don't follow it. The Grand Lodge here, if they want to put you on trial about anything, they can.
Yeah.
They're prejudiced, they're biased, and they're power hungry. And there's even other states in the United States that don't even recognize my state. So it's a whole other government that's going on underneath the scenes, It's a whole other thing.
That's the problem. That's the problem. And I think that's the problem Kennedy saw. He finally saw it. But regarding, I brought this up because we were talking about how long it would take to pull something off like what's being pulled off with the secret space program. 100 years. I'd say the Brotherhoods certainly have been working on this for 100 years. Various lodges under the Brotherhood, under that one Brotherhood. Then there's the Knights of Malta. Then there's, there's all kinds of secret societies. There's something in the human being that likes being involved, not just in secrets, but in something more than materialism, something more meaningful in a spiritual sense, even if it ends up that you are not in a good spiritual brotherhood. You're in a bad spiritual brotherhood, but you're still involved in secrets and a sort of mysticism that's quite materialistic in America. Are you getting a feel for what I'm saying?
Well, here's the thing. Manly P. Hall wrote about that. He was a 33rd degree honorary Freemason, and he wrote about that, what the ancient wisdom expects from its disciples. And he talked about that the buildings that we see, the Freemasonic buildings, everything that we see is nothing but an exoteric form of the real secret society, which is an internal realm that is led by hidden masters. And this is his words, that are manipulating society today as we speak.
Yeah.
So that's pretty occult. Right. That's pretty hidden.
That's right. And I think that it isn't that I, want to get up on my soapbox all the time and rail against any of these brotherhoods. It's that they are not, because of their structure, they are not friendly to democratic republics where we have the Bill of Rights, which of course is being completely shredded now. And this was the great hope of the Freemasons who founded this nation. With the blessing, I might add, of the Mother Lodge in England. of course, they had many arguments, and they burned our library to the ground in Washington, D.C. at a certain point. But the point is that the Freemasons have always, they had a dream of a certain liberty that they could offer people.
That's right.
To make them cognizant of spiritual truths. I completely support that dream. What's happened since then,
it got shattered.
and I would say if we were looking at it, it would be when the merchant class was allowed entry. Then everything just went kind of bananas. And now you have where there's like you were saying, Joe, a good lodge here, which has true moral integrity. And then over here, you've got another very different kind of lodge. And so this is part of our problem. We need to be cognizant of it, because when the Nazis came over, they had a brotherhood. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And that brotherhood founded the NASA. And we have NASA today. It was founded by their brotherhood. And you know, we have we then have the National Security Act of 1947, and that's where, you know, you start to tell something that somebody doesn't want you to tell, and it goes into secret chambers. Mm-hmm. So tell me how that fits with a democratic republic. Well, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
And that's what we're seeing now.
Right.
It's ending. It's ending right in front of our faces. And what's there instead, and perhaps they're counting on this, that we get excited about it as we learn more about it, is the secret space program that is now in part being admitted by bringing in the Space Force and by making President Trump, Donald Trump, the nephew of John Trump, the purveyor of Tesla technology that they absolutely depend on for everything they have in space.
Alana, I got to take a break, but I do want to talk to you about something that Roger Landry was talking about here as far as the aluminum goes and nanotech and what they may be doing. We'll be right back with Elana Freeland. Stay with us.
And you are listening to The Fringe FM.
You can tug all day long on a carpet that's been glued to the floor. Then you hurt. There are many strong glues out there. Let's see, there's liquid nails and Gorilla Glue. You ever try to remove 3M 5200? That adhesive is strong. Then there's bathroom caulk, silicone rubber, adhesive tape, super glue, flex tape, and stickers. Graffiti. Scientists have come up with glues that stay stuck and can't be removed. Until now. Until Handyman Formula by DeBond. That's right. 95% of adhesives become unstuck when you spray Handyman Formula directly on them. Just spray, wait a few minutes, and remove. It's amazing. Most adhesives become unstuck when you use Handyman Formula. Visit DeBondCorporation.com or MCMaster.com. Call 561-575-4200. This stuff really works. Handyman Formula by DeBond, a great Christmas gift.
I'm Ryan Gable, and I want to remind you to keep your radio, phone, tablet, or computer tuned to The Fringe FM, and visit the website, thefringe.fm, to listen to the entire lineup of shows. You can also catch my broadcast, The Secret Teachings, Monday through Friday, beginning at 12 a.m. midnight U.S. Pacific Time, right here on The Fringe FM.
Why is it we're not very good with our health regimen until it's too late? We don't put oil in the car until the engine blows up. When the body's out of balance, your health is not so good. Give your body some love. Log on to GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com. Try our Life Change Tea, which cleanses you from harmful intruders. A clean colon is one of the ways to bring the body in balance. We also carry organic supplements to help you get where you need to go. So do your body a favor. Log on to GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com. You can even visit our sales page to save some dough. Does anybody call money dough anymore? Anyway, if you're looking for short, helpful health tips, go to YouTube and punch in Health Matters Now. That's Health Matters Now. So, log on to getthetea.com, shop, get balanced, then learn some cool tips at Health Matters Now. You'll be glad you did. That's getthetea.com.
Alex Exum.
Hi, I'm Alex Exum, and you're listening to The Fringe FM. This is Reverend John M. Polk. Please visit me at johnpolkmedia.com and visit my show, Quantum Hologram Matrix, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, every Tuesday on thefringe.fm.
Hey Fringe FM listeners, did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or no Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of the Fringe FM by calling 701-719-3971. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. Saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Call 701-719-3971. That's 701-719-3971. Listen to the Fringe FM on any phone, anytime, anywhere.
Hey, is that a new music app?
Yeah, check it out. Surfer Music Discovery. It links to thousands of online stations, but the twist is you see the song names and artists that are now playing live.
That's different. No guessing. Looks like a waterfall of music.
So many formats. Rock, oldies, country, R&B, jazz, and a whole lot more.
How's that spelled?
Surfer. S-U-R-F-R.
Is it expensive?
It's free. No need to sign up or sign in.
Get the Surfer Music app free from Google Play or the App Store.
Hola, Fringe listeners. This is Dave Cruz of Beyond the Strange, and you're listening to The Fringe FM.
You're listening to Lighting the Void. The call-in number is 1-800-588-0335. If you would like to text, you can text in at 501-777-5631.
AlanaFreeland.com is the website you want to go to for reference tonight on the program. If you're just tuning in, this is Lighting the Void. I'm your host, Joe Roop. We're here 5 nights a week on the Fringe FM for you. Tonight, our guest, Elana Freeland, writer, researcher, author, speaker, is here with us to discuss research on transhumanism. Just about everything that we would call modern conspiracy. But this is not really modern. This stuff has been around for a while, as you say. And I got to tell you, Alana, the last time I had this discussion was with Roger Landry from the Liberty Beacon Project. And we were about 30 minutes in, and the same thing happened that happened to you. But he was talking about Monsanto and how they were the only company that patented a seed that needed to grow in aluminum soil. And, he said, I dare you to prove me wrong. And when we all looked into it, he was right. At least I looked into it, that they did actually, apply for that patent and got it to grow seeds in aluminum. And they're the only ones that have it. Now, if you've got all this aluminum in the air, well, think about it. That's like takeover, right? So, but what he was trying to get at before the show got cut off was something I think that you're getting at, is that they're trying to create an atmosphere to where they can implement this new nanotech into our bodies. And I know for a lot of people, I mean, that's like a major conspiracy, but at this point, there's plenty of research to back that up, isn't there?
Oh, yeah. It's all there. But I mean, who's got the time to go? First of all, people don't have nearly the contacts I have. I mean, I have contacts now all over the world who send me stuff. I never surf the net. I haven't done that for years because I'm too busy keeping track of everything people are sending me. It's phenomenal. I mean, a lot of people are waking up and they're doing their own research, especially if they've got Morgellons, that illness that actually is completely connected to the nanotechnology that we're breathing in. And that's kind of what we need to realize is that, we can't. For thousands of years, we've sort of been trained to wait for the experts to tell us what's true, and be good citizens, good children, and just wait until they talk. Well, under the National Security Act and the fact that this nanotechnology, much of it having to do with the geoengineering, is classified. So we have to do our own detective work to find out what is true and what isn't. Yes, you can like a personality on the radio, like me or somebody else, and you can say, yeah, I really believe a lot of what he says. You can do it that way, but that's still a very insecure way. And I highly recommend and support people in doing their own research, even finding out just a few facts and things. One of the things that makes this nanotech problem so in our face and will require will require change on our part in our lifestyle and certainly our food choice, certainly our medical advice choices, is this nanotech, because we cannot go anywhere that will give us the answers. Now, I don't think, I haven't done Western medicine my whole life. Since I was an adult. I studied Chinese medicine for 6 years, and I've followed it all these years. I have no health issues. I know what to do if I get sick. I know how to keep my kidneys going right, how to keep my liver going, all that stuff. I don't do doctors because I know how precarious allopathic medicine is. It doesn't really deal with causes. It deals with symptoms, and it suppresses symptoms, and it's in bed with the big pharma industry. So now you're talking nanotech, which is 1 nano is 1 billionth of a meter. Now, most doctors, even if they're as honest as the day is long, they do not know about nanomedicine. They might be using it for, like in surgery, they're using nanotech for certain things. They're using it when they diagnose people and like diabetics, and they put it in some of the equipment that the diabetic has to use. They're using it, but they're not thinking about what I'm thinking about, in that we're breathing it. It's in the new clothes at the department store. You can smell it. You don't know what you're smelling. It's going up your nostrils. The department stores are loaded with it in the air. It's in food products as filler. They don't have to list it as an ingredient, so you won't see nanos. It's in everything possible. New cars, they're going to have nanobots in the sidewalks of smart cities, in the walls, because these are the sensors. These are the MEMS. They're called MEMS, GEMS, and NEMS. Very high sensory equipment that is very, very tiny and can embed in many material objects. So it's not just what we're breathing, it's all around us. And here's the problem with the nanotechnology. By the way, Chapter 3 of Under An Ionized Sky is completely devoted to nanotechnology, and I will be covering it in this third book much more deeply. The nanotech has a strange characteristic, and this is the commentary straight from the scientists who are dealing with nanotechnology. It has this unique consciousness of its own. And the consciousness it has is what is being called either the hive mind or swarm, a swarm consciousness. And what that means is the nanotech, they work together. And because they are armed with microprocessors, I know that's hard for you to believe, that a tiny, tiny, tiny sensor, a nano sensor, could actually have something even tinier attached to it, which is basically a tiny computer. And that tiny computer in each of those nanos is hooked up to some, what I call the laptop boys, somewhere in maybe Denver, maybe Colorado Springs, maybe at a fusion center. But it's hooked up so that it can be programmed remotely, reprogrammed remotely, shut down, turned on, all sorts of things. Because it will then, if even you do one nano and give them new marching orders, say it's in my brain, give them new marching orders in my brain, immediately all the rest of the nanos will have it as well, because they operate as one in a swarm consciousness. And this means, well, of course, they didn't test any of this before they loosed it on our civilization. There was no period in which it was tested. I'm reading actually the history of nanotechnology now. No testing. That's how we do things in America. We don't test things. It's like even big pharma. They don't test those drugs. They test them on the people who buy them and see how it goes. And you know that there are laws in place by which you cannot sue these big pharma corporations. So these nanos, they have a swarm consciousness. And I'll tell you a place that you're going to be surprised, if I haven't told you before, Joe, that we saw it. And that was if you saw any of the drone film footage taken from the Santa Rosa fires of 2018.
Well, yeah. So
2017, excuse me.
I used to, they talked about this. I think it was almost like 10 years ago on the Joe Rogan podcast, where they were looking at those nanocopters, showing everyone how that they flew in formation or how they could dodge things, how it was run by artificial intelligence, and they worked as a group together. It was scary. And that was years ago.
Yeah, that's the swarm. But regarding the fire where you saw it, and this surprised me because I had not understood what I was seeing. I was looking at the drone footage, and what I saw was fire creeping along the ground. I was like, what? And it was just creeping along the ground in a sort of wavy sine wave way. And that's the nanos. They were on their way to burn this house down, but not this house. You see what I mean?
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
They were remotely triggered, and I could picture how it was done. I could see, the guy with the monitor in front of him. He's got the map of the houses.
All right.
And he's sending the nanos to varying, and then there's conflagration, and the whole thing goes up. And as you know, the trees don't burn because that was not the frequency that was being broadcast that day after they had laid the chemtrails for 3 days in advance. So, that's one of the things going on. Nanos are used in all sorts of things. They're using them mainly as sensors, and they're dropping. I've read articles in mainstream media that the military is dropping trillions and trillions of sensors up in the stratosphere to collect data for weather operations. But the problem with weather operations, the satellites involved in weather and seeing and helping build storm systems, because truthfully, guys, all the weather is engineered now. I have not seen one natural system for years. So they use the weather instrumentation up in space, the satellites and all the infrastructure that's been placed on the satellite, not just the cameras that can read your postage stamp and you're sitting on your desk, but also these instruments are all used for what the military likes to call dual use. And dual use means that they are weaponized, they can be used and do a dedicated kind of run on a particular area if they need it that way. And the sensors are constantly gathering data so that they know exactly what's going on the whole time up there and below on Earth. And that's really what I meant in the previous book by Space Fence Lockdown. The Space Fence is a Lockheed Martin term straight from the Strategic Defense Initiative, the SDI program, that has now flourished and is completely operant all around us now. It's not in the future tense in any way, shape, or form. And now they're busy finishing up the infrastructure with 5G and the Internet of Things. And the smart city, which will be basically an electromagnetic concentration camp. What can I say? I mean, we will be as locked in there as you can possibly be, because we will be in an entirely smart grid environment. So, years ago, a very brilliant woman, Rosalie Bertell, PhD in epidemiology, wrote a book about weaponizing planet Earth. Well, we are there. And it took 20 years, but it has been completed. And now we're just waiting for the linchpin that will be able to activate these nanobots at the drop of a hat. So that's why I'm concentrating on trying to tell people how to take care of themselves. And it has to do with really a very difficult thing for most human beings. And I totally understand it, which is you can't see the invisible. It's the same thing that someone in the 19th century felt when they'd flip on an electric light. They didn't really know how it worked.
Feels like the game Fallout. I mean, do we need to be walking around outside with masks on all the time now? I mean,
the mask won't work. This is nano. No, there is, to my knowledge, there is no mask that can handle nanotech or peta. Peta is the next down, the next tiny world down. And no, I don't think so. I don't think that means anything. I suppose over time, because now, of course, this trauma that we're being subjected to, just like with the asbestos and cigarettes and all the other things, pollution, it'll spawn its own industry. And maybe there will be something, amazing that you can wear that will keep you from breathing them. Certainly the people with lung ailments and who are asthmatic will need something to help them because, I'm handling it all right, but I follow a very rigorous diet. I don't eat GMOs. I eat organic. I eat out now and then, and I know that's GMO because they're cutting corners to make it. And then, the next day I'll be really good. And then I take Tony Pantalaresco's baths. Tony Pantalaresco is an herbalist in Canada, in Ottawa, Canada, who has spent about 10 years tracking the nanotechnology because he has had severe Morgellons and has basically cured himself. And now he's helping thousands, literally thousands of people are turning to him to see what they should do. Tony recommends a bath to alkalinize the body that has borax in it, Epsom salts, and sea salt, or Epsom salt or baking soda, so that the borax, which is a laundry helper, is really boron, 95% boron, and that will peel back some of the polymer plastic that you have probably on your skin and you don't even know it, that is clogging your pores, so that it'll open the pores so that the nanotech can come thundering out of there and go down the drain. That is just a symptomatic treatment. At the same time, he's recommending people to look at his videos and see how they can use magnetism to drive them out of the body. And that would be also the heavy metals. because the heavy metals will be, of course, magnetically drawn out. So Tony is 24/7 pursuing a variety of low-tech ways to deal with this. Now, for high-tech, we have the scientist who lived in the 30s, Royal Rife, R-I-F-E. He made a machine that is basically electromagnetic, that can sort of zap you with a frequency that will be unfriendly to the nano bots, and will drive them out in that way. So, we're just at the point, Joe, where those of us who've awakened to, you go through these phases. Okay, chemtrails. Okay, it's not contrails. All right. So what is in the chemtrails? Okay, so you've got heavy metals and you've got nanobots. Okay, so now what do I do next? Now I take care of my body. And we're kind of at that phase where we're sharing a lot of information on the internet, mostly on Facebook, actually, as evil as Facebook is, and unsatisfying. I certainly am on it a lot because thousands of people are awakening and need information and need to, find their way through this morass of national security, lies, deception, etc. So we're kind of pulling in from everybody. What are you doing, and what are you doing, and what's worked for you, and what hasn't worked for you? Knowing full well that everybody's body is different, but trying to understand the laws by which the nanotechnology functions, so that we can meet it and overcome it with our own human authority and our own human practices. And I'm very encouraged because I see some things now, and I'm certainly contacted by many people who have experiences to tell me. So, I'm just a data freak. I'm pulling in as much data on people's personal experiences because I know the doctors aren't going to help us. And certainly the scientists who know about nanotechnology are not going to help us. I think one doctor that we have up here out of Seattle has awakened to this, and that is Dietrich Klinghardt, who also has a practice in Berlin. He knows now that what we're breathing and what we're eating in the GMOs and what possibly might be in the vaccines as well, certainly for the little babies coming in, is all connected. And all of this has to do with the delivery system, which is geoengineered. You see what I mean? The main system is what's coming down. And
it's awful daunting, though.
That years ago.
It is daunting. Is there something that we can? Do you think there's something we can do as a society to get control back, other than just doing health stuff?
No, I'm not going to fool you. I'm not going to try to fool you. No, I don't. I think that every era has to deal with the global elites. We've had every era. I'm a historian by training. Every era I've read about has been run by global elites, and they have used and abused the poor. And now with this new technology, all the way from television, which has really ruined us. I've never even owned a television. I've watched a little bit here and there at people's houses, but no, the television has ruined us. Then a lot of these technologies can be helpful. I don't see any hope for the television actually, but say the computer, and then the phone, the iPhone, etc. All of these technologies were, number one, remember, never forget, they were military first. The military had each of these technologies for at least a generation before they ever gave it to the consumer. So these are military weapons. They're all weaponized. They're dual use. Military doesn't make anything but dual use. That can be for civilians and for soldiers. So this is how these technologies are. Are there good ways to use them? Well, I'm writing books on my computer. But at the same time, I have to, make sure that my radiation in this room is not over the top, that I'm not just developing cancer here. I have a separate, I set it up to use the technology as a sort of enemy in my house, but I need to use it. And that's how I don't own a cell phone. I didn't see any reason to own one. I have a landline. It's perfectly fine. You can leave me a message. Then I have all the email. I'm all set. I don't need that weapon up by my brain or even in the area I'm sitting in, because it is constantly looking for a signal. And that, the computer is not. If I shut it down and pull out the Ethernet cord, it's just there. At least that's my assumption. I could be totally wrong on that.
Well, we got to take our news break here, but you guys heard it. There's no way to take the power back from the elites. All we can do is fight it the best way we can. And she's talking about how to do that. We'll be right back here. If you guys got any questions, please use the text in line or call in. We'll be right back with Elana Freeland.
Thanks for listening to this broadcast. Need another late night fix? You can tune in every weeknight to Lighting the Void with Joe Roop on The Fringe FM.
Hi, this is David Oman with HouseAtTheEndOfTheDrive.com. You're listening to KTLK, The Fringe FM.
Abnormal News, I'm Brad Bernards. The sun is right there in the name of NASA's Parker Solar Probe, but a second mission of opportunity may make the spacecraft just as vital to Venus scientists as to those studying our local star. Parker Solar Probe launched in August 2018, destined to spend 7 years looping ever closer to the sun in hopes of sorting out some of the hottest mysteries about our star. But to do so, the spacecraft needed a carefully choreographed trajectory, one that included 7 flybys of Earth's evil twin, Venus, and Venus scientists who haven't had a dedicated NASA spacecraft since the mid-1990s were not about to let that opportunity fly past them. Of course, Parker Solar Probe's instruments are designed to study a star, not a planet. Traditionally, planetary scientists want very different instruments on their spacecraft, but that doesn't make plasma data superfluous. 2 dedicated Venus missions have carried plasma detectors to the world, NASA's Pioneer Venus Orbiter and the European Space Agency's Venus Express. But those spacecrafts were built decades ago. NASA's Solar Dynamics Observatory has observed a magnetic explosion, the likes of which have never been seen before. In the scorching upper reaches of the sun's atmosphere, a prominence, a large loop of material launched by an eruption on the solar surface, started falling back to the surface of the sun. But before it could make it, the prominence ran into a snarl of magnetic field lines, sparking a magnetic explosion.
The explosion, known as forced or controlled magnetic reconnection, is triggered by an eruption on the sun, which causes tangled magnetic field lines to explosively snap and realign, shooting out particles and energy.
The observation, which confirms a decade-old theory, may help scientists understand a key mystery about the sun's atmosphere, better predict space weather, and may also lead to breakthroughs in the controlled fusion and lab plasma experiments. Previously, a type of magnetic reconnection known as spontaneous reconnection has been seen both on the sun and around the Earth, but this new explosion-driven type, called forced reconnection, had never been seen directly, though it was first theorized 15 years ago. The new observations have just been published in the Astrophysical Journal. Read the news at parabnormalradio.com. I'm Brad Bernards, Parabnormal News.
What's up, Joe? Hey, man, I just wanted to say your show, dude, keeps getting better and better and better. I love Lighting the Void and the Fringe FM.
The Fringe FM isn't just a radio station. We also provide services for all your audio production needs. If you are interested in live radio or pre-recorded podcasts, we're here to help. We even do audio enhancements and voiceovers if needed. If you want to do a podcast or live radio show and even want the option to syndicate on terrestrial radio, from simple audio file enhancement to live production and call screening, we have you covered. We have worked with some of the best professionals in the business in order to provide coaching instruction for content creation, show structure, and more. Contact The Fringe Digital Media for more at info@thefringe.fm. That's info@thefringe.fm. Or call 501-777-5631 for a consultation.
Do you want to know the truth? Are UFOs real? Are aliens visiting Earth? Are governments around the world hiding the biggest secret in history? We're UFO Seekers, official partner of The Fringe FM, and we're on a hunt for the truth. Join us as we investigate locations like Area 51 by subscribing on YouTube at youtube.com/UFO Seekers.
Hey, Fringe FM listeners. Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or no Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of the Fringe FM by calling 701-719-3971. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. Saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Call 701-719-3971. That's 701-719-3971. Listen to the Fringe FM on any phone, anytime, anywhere.
Alex X. Hi, I'm Alex Exum, and you're listening to The Fringe FM.
To call Joe, pick up the phone, dial 1-800-588-0335, toll free from the United States or Canada. You're listening to Lighting the Void Radio.
Pretty intense information from Miss Elana Freeland. AlanaFreeland.com is the website you need to go to for reference. Tomorrow night on the program, we are going to have Montana Jordan on, and we're going to discuss the occult as well as many things about how she can feel evil. In fact, she's got a TV show coming up on the Travel Channel called It Feels Evil, all the way from Portland. She's going to be here tomorrow night, and that's what's tomorrow night on the program. And Friday night, we'll either do a makeup show or do open lines. But tonight, we are discussing nanotech, chemtrails, transhumanism, all of the above with the one and only Elana Freeland. And this show has went a lot smoother than the last one, I can tell you that. So that's a good thing. But what I did want to discuss with you, like I wanted to last time, was, we brought it up earlier in the show how there's this famous Bible verse that talks about, we don't fight evil as far as men and flesh go. We fight principalities and powers. And I'd brought up to you the quote from Manly P. Hall that talks about how there's secret masters that are controlling secret societies that manipulate the destiny of man today. Now, that's his direct quote. The word manipulate, to me, is never a good thing. And if he's true and right, and I can tell you after having out-of-body experiences and all the people we've talked to, there's definitely an inner realm or an occult or metaphysical realm. And I have to believe, I don't know about you, I'd like to hear your opinion on this, because I know you've talked about Rudolf Steiner quite a bit as well, that there is a hidden realm, this other realm that seems to be controlling things, the unseen realms. And a lot of the occultists, or we could say dark occultists that are aware of these things, are the ones manipulating us as we speak. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, yes. I mean, I can't fault that way of looking at all. Where I get confused, and a lot of people, I think, assume, oh yeah, Elana, she likes facts. She doesn't want to talk about Nibiru and aliens and Planet X and things. And that's true, because if I can't get there through my perceptions and my conceptions, then I'm really, in my book, in my path, I'm cheating.
Yeah, you're
and
not getting
I
anywhere,
really
right?
can't do it. I actually can't do it because I follow a moral map. and Rudolf Steiner has been a huge influence in my life. I was a Waldorf teacher for years to help children have a real childhood before hitting the American nightmare. And I think what people need to hear from me is that I really believe in that human consciousness is on an evolutionary path. And you can look around and always find couch potatoes, disgusting human beings, power mongers, murderers, rapists, pedophiles. You can find it all here on planet Earth. But you also find extraordinary human beings, not just saints, but the saints you'll never hear of, people you meet in the street, things that happen around you. The human being is a work in progress. And the reason I'm fighting so hard now, and I really am fighting hard, is I want people to have the option of free will. And I do not want voice to skull in your head telling you what to do and playing fun and game video games with your brain. I do not want that. And I am trying to educate the public about this technology. It's no longer a matter of, gee, I didn't even like science in high school. No, sorry, that will not cut it. We're all living in a technological era, and this technology is being exploited by human beings and possibly entities that they are connected to that hate humanity, that are anti-human. And our job is to save the human path of consciousness lying before us in the future to the best of our abilities. And we all have different abilities. My abilities tend to be writing, speaking, researching, and I am using all my skills to the best of my ability to fight this spiritual battle that we are fighting now, because there is no assurance that we will win this. None that I can see. All I know is that it's a tremendously worthy battle, and that Rudolf Steiner he died in 1925, too soon. He was poisoned by outside forces. Brotherhood did that. And he was very clear that we would have to have an age of machines, but his hope was that it would come a few hundred years in the future and not right away. Well, you can look around and see that has been changed. And part of the reason it's changed is that here in America anyway, I can speak. I've for years watched people languish in their personal lives with all their conveniences, all their toys, all their entertainment, their comforts, knowing full well that the rest of the world, that really we were enjoying all these things on the backs of the rest of the world, and that we would have to pay the piper someday for this convenience and comfort that we had post World War II. So now it has come. Now we're paying, and we are going to pay. And to me, this is a fantastic opportunity to become the most courageous and the most valorous and the most genuine and authentic human being that you have ever been to fight this battle. And for me, Rudolf Steiner, I'm not really good at the smorgasbord type of spirituality. I had a Christian experience in a classroom in college years and years ago that completely changed me. And then I discovered Rudolf Steiner, who is the 20th century Christian initiate, he's known as. I saw what he could do, the magic he could do with children that had been damaged in the Waldorf classrooms. So, he is the one that has laid out a trail for me. For better or worse, I will follow that trail because he has proven to be true. And I don't lecture people on it. It is not my task to tell anyone what to do. I can barely, keep myself in line. But I really know that the very top of the global elite food chain, they study occultism. Many of them are practicing Satanists. And if you think Satanism is a joke, you are very wrong. And so they have trained us and conditioned us and programmed us to think that there is no God, there is no spirit, and that, Satanism is just a good time. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law, just means have a good time. No, there are, it's like when you incarnate on the earth, a lot of things that you need to know are hidden, and you're going to go on a treasure hunt. And a lot of people just sleep through it, and they think that, it's just about your appetites and satisfying your appetite for money, your appetite for food, your appetite for sex, whatever. But no, it's really a treasure hunt here. And we need to dig and look behind curtains and try to figure out what the heck is going on here so that we don't get eaten, for one thing. Our forces don't get sucked out of us by entities that take advantage of ignorance and naivete. And I think this is an incredible opportunity. I'm thrilled to be here. I know it's sometimes I've sat and wept, particularly now that so many targeted individuals are contacting me to hear their stories. Yes, it's not easy. It's not easy, but I couldn't have asked for a better battle. I couldn't have asked for a better time to exercise my powers and grow in my capabilities as a spiritual being living in a material world, as Madonna sort of sang years ago. It's really true to be a spiritual being in a world like this where things are just going nuts. You really have to really bring yourself in and have a discipline. The word disciple is in the word discipline, and vice versa. So, I'm thrilled to be here, and I'm just trying to use the rest of my forces before I'm out of here for the good of the future of humanity. And I invite everyone who's listening to join me because it's an amazing experience. The people I have drawn and that I've been drawn toward just through the internet. I'm in touch with people all over the world. It has just been fantastic. I mean, there are some people out there who are working as hard as they can, as hard as I do, to represent the very greatest, the very best of being human, and I'm really grateful to them.
Yeah, there definitely are. I mean, we've talked to him on the show. I would like to hopefully one day get to speak to the dark journalist, because I believe he's one of those people too that's helping things along, because in the realm of media, there's a lot of, man, I can tell you, I don't have to tell you, I guess, but I can tell the audience that there's a lot of people that I can honestly tell you don't really care about anything but, getting more listeners and building up hype and stuff like that. But then there are people that I believe, because I know them personally, number one, that are really trying to help people. They're really trying to give you information. And a lot of the times it gets blown over, maybe because the content's not exciting enough or something, but it's so important, that I can already see it so many times in my life. And you've got more experience in this than me, that things have come to pass that they've talked about already, that comes to pass. And like right now, this is a warning. This is a warning I think we all should take very seriously. It's not something, this is not a theory or a conspiracy theory. These things are happening. If you do the research, it's there. Now, sure, I mean, we're putting things together probably at the very tips of it. But like, I mean, come on, how obvious can these people be that that's what's going on? I think they are putting us in a microwave. I think artificial intelligence is the main goal. Transhumanism is the main goal. The spirit of us is getting pushed out in a lot of ways, and I can't stand it, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Yeah,
I mean,
that's what's going on. And,
I mean, if there was a Luciferian agenda, that would be it to me. To take away, you know how people talk about the Luciferian agenda, right? That's what they talk about. But I mean, if there's really a dark agenda, let's call it a satanic agenda. To me, it would be to try to prolong human life, not worry about the spirit, try to, I guess, technocratize the human body to a point where it can live forever and travel in space, and where we can just, then we'll be trying to transfer our consciousness into machines, and then what? We're playing God at that point. It doesn't work. It just doesn't feel right to me.
Well, and it won't be a we, it'll be a them will do that. And the rest of us are a slave class. That's how it's going to be set up.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll be a hive mind. We'll be a swarm. That's the objective. For the nanobots, anyway.
How do we truthfully know? I mean, honestly, Alana, how do we truthfully know that that's not happening already?
Well, it is with some people. I'll tell people a secret and take it to heart and think about it. Your cell phones are a weapon system. You are being pulsed with frequencies that are affecting your moods, your health, your emotions, and your thoughts. So if ever you have the experience that you have a strange thought that is really not like you, or suddenly an emotional field comes up that really nothing has happened to produce, please know that you are being pulsed actively. That's part of the experimentation going on now. Every emotion, every thought has a different frequency. And they have the list now. They've collected, MK Ultra helped them collect the lists of all the frequencies of every nuance of human behavior. And that includes your organs, that includes your blood flow, your heart, all of it. They have the frequencies. They being who? That would be government would have to be involved because they own the very sophisticated equipment that those who go out into the streets and target people have to get their equipment from. So they have to sign for it. They have to sign a non-disclosure. They have to take copious notes and records of everything they do and responses and reactions they get from the people who are the targets. And they have to turn all that in because this is what big data really is about, is documenting everything being done to human beings and their responses and reactions so that they can build the cyborg model that can leave our atmosphere and go into space.
Man, when you tell people this, other than radio shows, right? And somebody says, "Come on, you really believe that?" You get upset, right? It's like, come on, just do some research here, right? That's all got to do.
I mean, I actually don't have any friends anymore in my town.
Really?
Nobody wants to talk to me. No, nobody wants to talk to me. But
because you're the negative person, is that why? Oh, she's the negative one, right?
Well, it's just the mind control going on, and there's so much of it. But I do talk on radio shows. I used to be much more tight-lipped and much more sticking with the facts, but I've realized over time that I really need to make an appeal to people because most people only recognize an appeal when it's a little more personal and a little more revealing of yourself. And so I'm happy I'm doing this, the radio shows this way now.
Yeah, I'm happy you're doing it too, because it is reaching a broader audience that way. And you please keep writing. I mean, to this audience and to my show, it's very important that we have somebody on here that just doesn't talk about, not only conspiracy stuff, but this isn't really conspiracy. This is more like parapolitics here, not to mention backed up by spirituality that's good.
I mean, every time all the conspiracy theories I've had over the years that people have sneered at me about have all come true, I'm sorry to say. I wish I'd be wrong sometime, but I have never been wrong, and I'm not wrong about this either.
Hey, I remember back in the day, I used to laugh at people for talking about chemtrails. I was one of those people. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, you guys are crazy. There's no chemtrails, right? And then the CIA comes out and says, okay, we're painting the skies with aluminum. And I'm like, what? You guys are admitting it now. So they're far beyond it. And that's kind of when I woke up about the whole thing. So, yeah.
And just before I go, I wanted to let you know that they've also changed another term. Not only have they brought in about 7 or 10 cloud types that are all produced with chemicals. By the way, those clouds up there, most of them are not really filled with moisture. They're just chemical clouds. They're filled with plasma. They have a new term for the cloud cover that all these chemtrails make, and it's called contrail clouds.
Yeah, right. Yeah, well, that's what they said, so it's got to be true, right? Come on.
Yeah, right.
So,
yeah, some guy's got to keep his job.
Well, you know what? I hope that you keep doing what you're doing, and thank you so much for coming back on the show. When is the book due to come out? Do you know?
Well, it'll be out in 2020.
Okay.
Later. I mean, this is the hardest book I've ever written, to my knowledge. I've written, I ghostwrite for people too. I ghostwrite people's books. So I've written more than a dozen books. I'm like a book builder. But this is tough. This is tough. And it's challenging me. But it'll be out this year.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. Hopefully we can talk to you again once the book releases and I give it a read and really get into some more information here, because we got to stay informed about this stuff. Yeah. So really thank you so much for coming on.
And thanks for doing what you do.
Wow. You're very welcome. And you guys go check out the website to alanafreeland.com, grab the books, get the information. Before you make a judgment, do the research yourself, like Bill Cooper always said. We'll be right back. Memorial TV coming up.
Joseph Roop is your host. Pull back the blinds and uncover the truth. This is Lighting the Void Radio.
You're listening to The Fringe FM.
Somewhere between abnormal and paranormal, there's a show called Into the Paranormal. I'm Jeremy Scott. Hear me live Saturdays at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 Eastern on the Fringe FM.
Hey, I'm J.M. DeBoard, and when I want to talk about dreams, I look up my man Joe Root and his show, Lighting the Void.
The Fringe FM isn't just a radio station. We also provide services for all your audio production needs. If you are interested in live radio or pre-recorded podcasts, we're here to help. We even do audio enhancements and voiceovers if needed. If you want to do a podcast or live radio show and even want the option to syndicate on terrestrial radio, from simple audio file enhancement to live production and call screening, we have you covered. We have worked with some of the best professionals in the business in order to provide coaching instruction for content creation, show structure, and more. Contact The Fringe Digital Media for more at info@thefringe.fm. That's info@thefringe.fm. Or call 501-777-5631 for a consultation.
Listen, I want to tell you about G.I. Joy from GetTheTea.com. It's the best alchemical concoction of goodies for your stomach and digestive system I can recommend, and that's all based on my experience. Packed with colostrum, acidophilus, aloe, peppermint, and turmeric. If you do your own research, then you know this is the bee's knees for the stomach and digestion. Now, due to Big Brother's ears and the eye in the sky, you know I can't go into the details about what it helped me with. All I can say is I got relief. It's non-GMO, no fillers, no preservatives, manufactured right here in the US of A, and delivered to you by the only people who stay on top of the game and are out in front. Go grab a bottle of G.I. Joy at GetTheTea.com. and see what all the fuss is about. Again, that's getthetea.com.
This is Barbara Charlton from Metaphorical Archaeology. If you've ever had a traumatic paranormal experience, the effects of it may stay with you for years. Who do you talk to? You can't go to conventional help. What we do is we use emotional freedom techniques or tapping to actually neutralize the effects of that event. Maybe when you tell the story now, your heart races and your palms get sweaty. You don't even want to think about it because you don't know how to neutralize that. That's what EFT tapping does. It neutralizes those emotions. The circuit that was recorded on is gone. The energy flows freely and you're free of it. And that's what emotional freedom is all about. We offer this as a pro bono service, but this is something that I offer because no one, it seems, is helping people with these experiences. If you'd like to reach me, it's really easy. My cell phone is 214-995-3754. Please leave a message. I will get back to you as quickly as possible. Or you can email me, barb.eft@gmail.com. And EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques. Reach out to me. It's confidential. This works. You won't believe the results.
Hi, this is Sammy. Join us in the Deep South as we're lighting the void with Joe Roop on the Fringe FM.
You know, stress is at an all-time high, and all of us could use a little bit of stress relief. That's why I want to talk to you about Soothe. Now, this is an app you can download on your phone. They have a massage therapist that arrives with a massage table, sheets, lotion, oils, and music, and you're in charge. You can book in seconds and schedule at 8 a.m. to midnight massage 7 days a week, anytime it's available. There's a 60-minute arrival period. A vetted background-checked massage therapist will come to you in as little as an hour. All of the therapists are vetted by industry veterans that ensure a compassionate, healing touch. So maybe you're a little stressed and you need to feel spoiled. Well, there's no better way to do that than relax at your own home and not have to deal with the outside world with Soothe. Right now, you can get $10 off your first massage by putting in the code word FRINGE10 at checkout. That's www.soothe.com or download the Soothe app and put in the code word FRINGE10. We all have that story to tell in our lives. The winds were howling, the ground shook, you could hear rushing water, and then history repeats itself. When there's no power, refrigeration fails, stores with their shelves stripped bare, ATMs can't operate, deliveries stop. Then what? These events can last days or weeks. You need a plan. And statements made during recent interviews, FEMA Administrator Brock Long has repeatedly urged all Americans to understand three truths. FEMA is broke, the system is broken. If this is the new normal, Americans can't rely on federal cavalry when disaster strikes. Don't get caught out in the elements empty-handed. Prepare with us by going to preparewiththefringe.com and get your 2-week food supply. 92 servings, 8 food varieties with 25 years shelf life. Normally $137, now only $75. Or get a month's supply, normally $247, now only $147, shipped in one business day. Just go to preparewiththefringe.com or call 888-440-7931. That's 888-440-7931. Get this great offer and be prepared while it lasts.
Right, me old Chiners. I know it's an ad break, but before you lot shoot off and make yourself a cup of Rosie Lee or whatever else it is you're going to sling down your Gregory Peck, you need to listen to me babble. If, like me, you found your way to Lighting the Void via a downloadable podcast, you might want to take a butcher's at the Fringe FM Wind and Kite. You won't Adam and Eve how many other shows there are or what they rabbit on about. Ancient history, conspiracy, the consciousness, the esoteric, the occult, metaphysics, parapolitical, ufology, technology and spirituality, to name but a few. They got featured hosts like Ryan Gable, Jeremy Scott, Alex Exum, Tim Doyle, Cortana and Gigi, Susanna Ross, the Reverend John Polk, Michael Deacon and J.D. Lewis. You might find yourself listening to the thoughts and theories of the author of The Fish you just finished reading. Or you could pick up the dog and bone, call in and tell everyone your own beliefs or experiences. So do me a favour, before you put on the Ansel or crack open a bottle of vino or roll a joint, go to your Fringe FM and see what you're missing.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
You're listening to Lighting the Void. The call-in number is 1-800-588-0335. If you would like to text, you can text in at 501-777-5631.
Pretty intense stuff from Elana Freeland. I mean, stuff we need to be paying attention to. You know, we don't talk about conspiracies, or I'd hate to even call a lot of what she's saying conspiracy, but we don't talk about that stuff a lot on this show. But if it's real, it needs to be spoken about, because we can't just act blind to this stuff all the time and pretend everything is okay and bury our heads in the sand, because we really, truly wouldn't be void walkers or explorers of consciousness in any type of way, right? So I want to thank Elana Freeland for coming on. That was fantastic. Always a good time, always a good guest talking to her. And again, tomorrow night, Montana Jordan will be on the program here live, and we're going to be discussing her new TV show as well as the Occult. She's an occult specialist and parapsychological researcher from Portland, which is a place that I just returned from. And I wanted to tell you guys some of the stuff that happened. I've actually got footage of some of this stuff, but some of it, I got to say, thank God I didn't get footage of some of it. So, yeah, as you know, most of you know that I was in Portland, and what happened there in the beginning was a lot. You know, and I'm not the only one this stuff is happening to. I mean, Jesus, all you got to do, I really believe this, man. Like, all you got to do to see what the planetary energies are doing to people is get on Facebook and look at what memes people are posting, what they're complaining about, and what they're saying. And usually you can see the types of energies that are going on around everybody. I kind of learned this from Mary Ducina. So I want to talk about that too. So we got some crazy, like, really important energies coming up. And I may try to get somebody like Mary to come on and discuss this, maybe Jeff. Because, yeah, this stuff is pretty important for all of us that's coming up. It's not going to be something that we can ignore or just make through. But let me tell you about what happened first in Portland. So Saturday night, it was Saturday night. I just got a wild hair, you know. It's like, hey, enough of the restaurants and enough of the bookstores and enough of just talking to people here and there. Might as well go out and experience what Portland is all about. First and foremost, I got to tell you, during the winter, there is no sun. So if you plan on going to Portland and you want to see the sun, you can forget about it. It's cold, wet, dreary, and dark every single day, just about. So if you're going there, take some vitamin D with you. That's what they told me. Take a bunch of that stuff. Now, before I tell you the story, I want to say too that Portland is a very cool city when it comes to people, though. Not all the people are cool, but for the most part, the citizens, the tourists, and even the homeless and the people that live on the streets are pretty decent people. And they're all about each other. They're very liberal and they're very open-minded for the most part. So Saturday night, I go back to the bookstore. I go to this place called Powell's, and Ryan Gable turned me on to the store the last time we were in Portland. And it's a nice bookstore. I got a little bit of footage of that too. But you guys know that New Year's Eve, I went out with Clyde and JD, and we went to this karaoke place. It was called, what was it called? The Ambassador. And it was full of everybody just getting hammered. And it was it's weird. It's like a bar, Chinese restaurant with karaoke. There's so many of these places in Portland like this. And a lot of them have video poker too. It's a very, it's a very strange town in a lot of ways too. So, I did that with them. We watched Star Wars. I spent a few days going in and out of bookstores trying to figure out what I was going to do, trying to make it through. I ice skating ring, went to the Lloyd Center. But finally I decided, you know what? I'm going to go out and I'm going to experience Portland as much as I can. So I go to this area, and here's a few street names, and in case any of you guys are from Portland, so you'll know where I was when all of this stuff went down. So I go to this area. Here's some street names: Broadway, Cooch Street. They call it Cooch, but it's spelled couch. It's the strangest damn thing, but everybody there calls it Cooch. So I take this thing called the Max, and they got this Max railway system that goes everywhere, but you can get anywhere with it. And I take it to these streets. And so there's like Burnside, Broadway, Cooch. And at some point in that night, they take these rails and they rail off the streets. Yeah, I swear to God, it's spelled couch, but everybody there pronounces it Cooch. For y'all laughing in the chat room, Jose. And so I go to this place, and I'm like, oh God, they're blocking off the streets, and everybody's walking up and down the streets. It's party time. You can tell everybody's drinking. There's homeless people walking around screaming, talking to themselves. One guy's just calling everybody a bitch, just, that's right, bitch. That's right. Just getting in people's face. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I've been to, this kind of reminds me of Memphis a little bit, but it's like Bill Street times 4, 5, maybe. There's way more stuff to do. So there's this epic place there called Dante's. And Dante's is a place, like, if you're a musician or if you're a band, especially if you're into rock or metal or punk or goth or anything like that, you want to play there. You want to go there. Clyde Lewis used to do shows from there, but they kind of threw him out because he started talking about too much political stuff. So he can't do his shows there, like we did that one at that bar at Paradise. So there's this band there that they kind of look like Slipknot. It's a bunch of dudes not wearing t-shirts, and they're all wearing red, black, and white masks. The whole place is just covered in red lights. It's very dark and gothy looking, and pretty much everybody in there is wearing dark and gothy clothes, tattooed up, piercings, colored hair, that kind of thing. And, so I'm watching this band and I'm thinking, okay, this is cool. I sit at the bar. I haven't had a drink in a long time. So I get a little redneck and I start drinking some Pabst Blue Ribbon. Now, I don't know how many I had. I didn't have a lot, but I had a few. And, this band is pretty cool. There's nothing real interesting that happens at this point other than the fact that I'm talking to all these people, making new friends. And, I guess one good thing about being a smoker, which I'm trying to quit now, is that all you got to do to make a new friend is bum somebody a cigarette. Now, here's the thing about Portland. If you can walk 4 blocks without giving somebody $1 or loaning somebody a cigarette, you're a wizard. There's that many people there that are trying to bum from you. It's incredible. So, this band is playing their thing. They don't really sing a lot. They just act crazy. And I think I watch them for about an hour. Now, I don't know too much about time here because I lost a little bit of time. But they start walking outside. And the band's name is, I think it's Daijaku or Daikaju. I followed them on Facebook. And they go outside and they're walking at $2 tall boys. That's exactly what the hipsters ruined it. That's right, Jake. There's a lot of hipsters there for sure. I mean, you got to cut your hair like the barber style haircut with a beard, tattoos, and you belong. You just fit. Me, just a regular Southern boy, but everybody happened to like me though. For some reason, God knows why. But anyways, they're walking outside in a line doing like this tribal thing. And I'm like, where the hell are they going? And this guy, this really cool guy that I met named Dustin, and his wife and their friend was like, hey, you want to follow them because they're about to set their van on fire. And I was like, get the hell out of here. They're not going to set their van on fire. But they do. So I go around the corner and the band is standing on top of their van. You stand by your van. and they're pouring like lighter fluid or gas or something all over it. And the security guards are just swarming the place. They're going nuts, and they set their van on fire. But anyways, I can't believe what I'm seeing. I'm like, these dudes, they're standing in the middle of the fire. They're setting their van on fire. The cops aren't doing anything. The security guards aren't doing anything. Apparently this is part of the show. And then all of these panhandlers come up to me, handed me free cards to all these strip clubs. Now, Portland has more strip clubs per capita than any other city in the United States. Now, I know you've heard this before in a lot of places like Vegas, maybe Tampa, stuff like that. But I'm telling you, Portland has more strip clubs than anybody, period. So I take all their cards. I listen to all their sales pitches. I don't have any plans on going into a strip club. My strip club days are over. I've seen it. You've seen them all. Trust me. You know what it's all about. You do that stuff in your 20s anyways. And I'm talking to this girl, and I won't say her name because she said she's going to listen to the show, but let's just call her Christy. Now, Christy is definitely a lesbian, and she's proud about it. She likes girls, and she wanted to talk to me about it. She also wanted to talk to me when she found out that she was a lesbian. I said, well, that's fine. We talked about it. So we became buddies. But I swear to God, if you've seen that movie, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, this is how this chick looks. 100% looks just like her. Probably more tattoos, though. Real kind of tough-looking girl, but cute in the face, you know? But really cool. And as she gets into the peak of her story about her sexuality, I'm thinking, oh, okay, I'm about to learn something here. And she looks at her phone and says, hey, I got to go put this she said, put this bitch in line. You want to ride? And I said, sure. I guess. Where are we going? At that point, I don't know if you guys have seen that movie, Yes Man with Jim Carrey, but that's what I felt like being, the yes man, right? Like if anybody comes to me and offers anything, as long as it's not crazy, I'm bored stiff in this hotel room, right? Like I'm going to do the yes man thing. So I said, sure. So my big butt, I find my big butt on the back. I don't know what kind of bike it was. It was a bike, crotch rocket. I hate crotch rockets. And I'm hunched over like a gorilla holding on to this chick. And we're going down the road. Yeah, nothing better to do. All right. Nothing better to do tonight. Trust me. And we take the long way around. I think because she just wants to show off. Oh, I got to ride in a Tesla, by the way, which is really cool. I went to the worst part of town to do my laundry because the DoubleTree wants to charge me $400 to do laundry. So I took a lift all the way to just this nasty part of Portland to do my laundry. And then there was no other lift back but a luxury lift. This is a sidetrack here. A luxury lift, and it was a Tesla, but it was like, okay, I call a cab, I pay $40 to get back, or I call this lift and I pay $25 to get back. And so this dude rides up in the ghetto in a Tesla and picks me up. His name's Garth, and he won't shut up. God, he thinks he's something special. I mean, he will not shut up. Like, yeah, man, this is my car. You know that in Tesla, you can actually put $200 down on that thing. I think it's $100 down, and they'll give you 2 years. It might be a year. Could be wrong. But you can actually anybody can put $100 down on a Tesla and come up with the rest of the loan. They give you a year to come up with the rest of it. So this kid puts $100 down on it and, works 2 jobs, and now he thinks he's cool. And I swear he's wearing a leather jacket and driving gloves. Like he thinks he's the bomb, which, you know what, man, he's feeling it. He's got his Tesla. It's got a big computer on the front of it. And, we get out on the interstate, and I said, hey, this is before the dragon tattoo girl. I'm going to finish that. I'm just trying to let it get later so the kids will go to sleep. But he gasses this thing. It's not really gas. It's electric, but you know what I mean. And I've never felt acceleration like that in my life in a car. No noise, fully electric, right? It doesn't make a sound, but it jerks my head back so hard. I couldn't believe it. I want a Tesla. It's $200 down, Jake says. So anyways, I was like, man, he pushes the, come on, Jose. I don't need, and look, if you guys, whoever's coming in the chat room saying I'm rude, then you obviously don't listen to the show. You're probably nice. I guess I'm just going to be rude then. But, so back to the story, right? I'm on the back of this bike with this girl, and I'm like, man, this is awesome. I know, I can already tell this is going to be a crazy night. And she takes me to this strip club. I don't want to go in there. But she turns around, she's like, listen, you got to have my back when we go in. If the security guards jump me, I need you to help me. And I said, jump you? Why would they jump you? I mean, what are we going to do in here anyways? I thought you just wanted to talk to somebody. That's what I thought. So we climb these steps. I'm not going to say the name of the place because I've told some of y'all the name of the place, but I'm not going to do it on air. But just if you guys know, high steps, right? So we're going up these steps. She walks into the door, walks straight towards this girl that's dancing, and decks her right in the mouth. I've never seen a girl hit another girl this hard in my life. Never. You know? And at that point, I'm thinking that she thinks that I'm going to get involved with a fight with security guards, strippers, and her. Nah, that ain't happening. Mind you, this is like a fully nude strip club. I don't know what the rules are here, you know, who I can swing on, who I can hit. All I know is, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to pretend like I'm walking around the corner, Roadhouse, bring out the Swayze, and then I'm going to bounce. And so that's what I did. So I rolled out of there. I abandoned the girl. I never got to hear her story about how she discovered her sexuality, which was for some reason super interesting to me at that point, because I always thought if you're a lesbian or if you're gay or if you're a homosexual that you're born that way, but that's not true, you know, because I'm from Arkansas, right? So apparently I've been reading articles and some people discover it. I don't know. It's Portland, so I'm learning all about this stuff. I don't care. It doesn't bother me, but the stories are pretty interesting to hear. And so I go out on the street. My face is white. I can feel how flushed my face is from the adrenaline. I walk 2 blocks, and there's all these, I don't know what street I'm on, by the way, if you're from Portland, but there's all these like food trucks. I mean, food carts, food trucks, just lines of them. And this guy walks out and he's like, hey, another guy wanting to bum a cigarette again, you know? So I'm like, sure. He does not look, he just looks like a normal dude. His name was Michael, and I'm going to try to get him on the show. He gave me his email address, and I emailed him, and I'm going to get him on the show to validate this whole story. So, Abby, then you could probably explain this a lot better than me. Call in, help me with it. Anyways, so I'm talking to this guy. I tell him what happens in there. And then he starts talking to me and asking me how I got to Portland, right? I think his name was Michael P. Scott. And so I tell him, now this is a long conversation, and he told me stuff that I don't really want to mention, but he just got off probation, and the guy, he likes to talk to people that aren't there. I don't know if he does it on purpose. I couldn't tell. I was trying to find out if he had like a mental issue, because every time I would walk around the corner, he's having a conversation with somebody that's not there. And I said, hey man, where do we go from here? He goes, hold on a second. I'll be right back. And he goes, don't leave. And he takes off running. He goes around the edge of the food trucks and he just disappears. I'm like, what the hell? You know? And I can hear him yelling behind all these people at me. Don't leave. He comes back with a pair of black pants on. He was wearing white pants, comes back with black pants. So I'm like, hey man, you live on the street? And he's like, yeah, but you know, it's just my thing. It's what I do right now. And he talks so fast, I can't tell you everything he said because he just talks. He doesn't take a breath. And you wouldn't think it, right? Because he's so clean cut. Because you run into so many homeless people. They're not all clean. They're all a lot of them are pretty bad off. Some of them aren't. But I think it just matters what level of stranded, homeless, or on the streets you are at that point. And I said, man, how do you dress? How do you stay so clean? How long have you been on the streets? You know? He's been on the streets for a couple of years, but what he does is he goes into these places and steals clothes. So he tells me, I'll go into this place and I'll put on 5 or 6 shirts, a few pants and some shoes or whatever. And I'll walk out and then I'll sell the clothes. And so I always look like I'm not from the street. So people treat me right. And I make my money selling clothes. So I'm learning how these guys live on the streets there. And there's people man, so many people that live on the streets. That's all they do is they got some kind of hustle going on. Now, this is not the peak of the night. I'm not playing. There's dispensaries there. Yeah, I went in and out of a dispensary. And of course, if I'm in Portland and it's legal to smoke, I'm going to do it. Of course I am. Who wouldn't? Every one of you guys that messaged me said that you would, so I did. And I got to tell you, I had a panic attack just like I thought I was going to, because the weed is so strong nowadays, I can't even smoke it. Nobody has any regular weed anymore. It's all this, medical lemon skunk, this hybrid, this. I got all these thoughts moving through my head and I can't move. I don't like it. So I ate on one of the food trucks to try to make it go away. And I'm still talking to this dude. You know how you eat and you come down. But it was cool to go in. All I had to do was take my hat off. That's it. Just take my hat off. Show my ID, legal. I don't think it was legal to smoke it where we did. I think you have to be in a private residence, but whatever. I'm long gone from Portland. And everybody else was doing it. So why not? So I'm hearing about his story on the streets, about his post-traumatic stress. And that's what he tells me, as severe post-traumatic stress. And this was from his time in prison. And the stories that he tells me in prison about how somebody broke his leg, how he was forced to have sex with a man, even though he didn't want to. It was just the most god-awful story I've ever heard. And so when I hear somebody else's sob story about abuse or trauma or post-traumatic stress, I promise you there's somebody out there that's got one worse than you. And this guy still understood me. He was being cool to me. But every now and then he would do something crazy. He just, walk across the street and be like, hit me, man. No, hit me. I'm like, what do you want me to hit you for? What is it, Fight Club? No, seriously, I want to show you something. I want to teach you something. Hit me. Just hit me. And I didn't hit him. Not that time. The second time he did that crap, I did hit him because he wouldn't stop. And when I did hit him, he said, thank you. And I said, why did you make me do that, man? Why in Portland does everybody want to be beat, whipped, and hit? I'll get to that in a minute. The second time he did it, I hit him, but I didn't hit him hard. I just did it so he'd shut up. He wanted me to hit him in the face. Now, he did this like 3 or 4 times, but the second time I did hit him because it was embarrassing. I got tired of it. Yeah, travel life. Joe got a weird taste of the travel life. And he was thanking me. He's like, thank you. I needed that. Thank you. And I'm like, so if I didn't hit you, what would have happened? You're going to pop off and hit me? I said, because, dude, I don't know. I know I'm not from here or whatever, but if you think you're going to get the best of this old boy, I promise you it ain't going to happen. And he's like, no, it ain't like that. He said, you've been taking care of me. You fed me. You gave me a little money. You gave me some smokes, and I just feel guilty about it. And the only way I'm going to feel any better is if you hit me. And I'm like, this is weird. You can't just say thank you, Given the guy's past, telling me that his grandmother sold him when he was a kid, just all kinds of trauma he went through. Now, I don't know what's true and what's not, but I do know that everything that this guy told me about Portland was true. And everything he told me that he was going to do, he did it. So we have more conversation. How did I end up in Portland? I told him how I ended up in Portland, and then we had more conversations after that. So this is dudes talking here, and you know what dudes talk about. So after we have dude conversations, he takes me to this place that I don't believe is real. I don't believe it. He's telling me this story where grown-ass adults go to and do some very unhealthy things, and all you have to do is sign a waiver. And we're talking beyond 50 shades. I mean, it's 50 shades probably, or 100 shades of gray. Because I can't fathom an idea that people that don't know each other are willing to just sign a waiver and do these kinds of things, right? I mean, that is dangerous and unhealthy, but it's their choice. And this is Portland, and you can't judge somebody by their choice, right? So I didn't. And he goes, do you want to see it? I said, no, I don't want to see it. I got to see it. Got to. I'm walking further than I've ever walked in my entire life. This is a big city, y'all. They call it the city of bridges. And he takes me to this place. Now, I will not name this place. I've talked to 7 people about how I should tell the story, and they said, do not talk about anything about how to recognize it or whatever, because it's going to get me in trouble. I'm just going to take their word for it. Via the late, great Art Bell. He was a smart man. But I will tell you that Michael was correct. I signed a waiver. I go in this place and they have rules like consent is consent. No means no. Big rules on the wall. No means no. Stay 5 foot away from everybody. If you're not participating in a session, do not get closer than 5 feet. And I'm thinking, this is real. They got dungeons in Portland, y'all. Sex dungeons. So I had to ask, man. I had to ask one of these guys, as naked as he was. I said, look, man, 5 foot away, of course. I said, hey, awkwardly staring at this dude because I don't want to look down. And I'm like, hey, do you know that person? Do you know her? No. Oh, well, we met tonight. Really? No protection. Like I've never seen anything like this in my life. I don't know how this is legal, y'all. No idea. I guess it's us consenting adults. You signed a waiver. I mean, a waiver just takes away everything, doesn't it? That's all you got to do is sign a waiver and you can do whatever you want. This city is the most liberal city I've ever seen in my life. Now, I can't tell you that this is one of those situations, okay, where I can't tell you what all I saw in this room. Nobody was getting stabbed or anything. Like, well, not, damn it, that was a bad one. Look, nobody was getting physically hurt, like in ways that they didn't want to be. But I couldn't stop. I wanted to laugh at first, but then I had the strangest like wave of different types of emotions that went over me, because this is the type of thing in my mind where I grew up, and how I'm raised. Forget all that. How I feel. These are the types of things that you do intimately with one person and behind closed doors, and you don't talk about later. You just had an intimate moment with somebody, and now it's a special thing. But this isn't special. This is sport. This is like paintball or something to these people, you know? Now, I have this wave of emotions that go over me, like disgusted, intrigued, worried, sad, happy, disgusted, intrigued, worried, sad. And I'm thinking, what the hell is going on here? Now, before you say this is not my thing, you don't know me very well. But it's definitely not my thing to watch a group of people doing it that don't know each other. Like, that's not my thing, no. Competitive orgies, right? So I walked out of the place, but I had to go back in. So I walked out, and I'm looking at Michael, and he's just sitting there in the street, right? Drunk as a skunk. And he's just like swaying back and forth, just shaking his head going, I told you, didn't I? I told you. And I'm like, who are you talking to? He's like, I'm talking to you. So I figured out he didn't look at me, but he was just talking to me. That's how drunk he was. So I go back in because I'm trying to make sure that that was real, that I'm not on some type of trip or something. And I'm like, Jesus Christ. All right. So I've had enough. Like, I got to go back out. So yeah, that happened. And then I spent the next, like when I walked out of there, I really had to recover from that. Like, I don't really understand, you know, don't get me wrong. I'm no prude, right? Like, I ain't trying to brag or anything, but I mean, the older we get, we try all kinds of things. So it's not like I ain't seen this stuff or participated in my own life or anything like that. I think anybody my age or older probably had, but when you see it like as a sport, like paintball or something, and you're thinking about how diseases get transferred, and you know, and it's like in my life, that kind of stuff, I've never been able to, I'm not a casual person. Like, I have to really care about you in order to do those kind of things, not just care or like, or, oh man, you're hot. I've never been a casual person. So it doesn't sit well in my soul. But we all have two different natures about us, right? So the primal beast side of me is triggered, but in good ways, but the soul side of me, let's just say the right brain, the one that, let's say the deepest parts of me, couldn't handle it. It was like, this is messed up, right? No heart, just sport. Yeah. So I didn't go back to the DoubleTree yet, Jake. And I'm saying these people are in the chat if y'all are listening, because I know a bunch of y'all are. We got listeners from Portland too, are probably laughing at me. So, I'm on, I don't know what I did, but I had to just keep walking with this guy. I just walked. That's all I could do is walk and think, because I'm having post-traumatic stress myself at this point. My brain has saw something, right, that won't go out of my head. It's one of those like car wreck situations, you know, where you had to look, didn't you? That's what you're telling yourself. You had to go in there and look. You had, because you didn't believe the guy or whatever. You had to. So my brain's not doing well with this. So I walked and talked to this guy, and he told me his whole story. And he helped me understand post-traumatic stress more. And he helped me understand a lot of the stuff he was going through, and a lot of the things that I'd been through in previous relationships about those types of things, because his was really bad. And I thought, man, you know, I'm really like, I don't know, like I'm really bonding with this dude. And just as soon as I think I'm getting on this guy's level and actually reaching him, he opens the door to this place called the Nines, right? Which is another hotel. And he's like, hey, MFers, somebody call my homeboy out here, MF and cab, or get off your ass. He just starts screaming at him. I'm like, hey, man, what are you doing? So I pull him back out in the street, and I'm like, you don't scream at people like that, man. He's like, yeah, but you're my boy, and you need a cab, and I'm going to get you one. And I'm like, but that's not how you do it. You know, no wonder you're on probation or whatever. Like, I don't want to go to jail. And all I want to do at this point is get back to the DoubleTree, to my simple hotel room life, and get the hell out of Portland. Not because I don't like Portland, or I don't like the people, or I don't love the weather, but because I realize at this point, I've had enough. I've had enough, man. Like, emotionally, mentally, like, I don't know why in the hell I made this trip. Well, I know why I made the trip, but I don't know why in the hell I'm experiencing all these things in this trip. This is nothing but a trip. I never wanted to go back to Arkansas so bad in my entire life. And you guys know, I want to get the hell out of Arkansas. I always have. I want to move somewhere where there's opportunity, you know, maybe a beach, maybe something cool. And I mean, Oregon's a beautiful place. A lot of people thought I was going to move there. I thought maybe I would move there. Portland's a cool city. It is. The people are cool. And, you know, it's like kind of like Dallas too. I mean, from a man's point of view, I mean, there's so many gorgeous women. They're a lot paler than the girls in Dallas, but they're all still gorgeous. You know, so many. And they're all pretty much friendly if you're not a creep to them, you know. And all the cool dudes are cool. And I don't know. It's like that was an experience that I'll never forget. So if you guys are thinking that my trip to Portland was a wash, or that I'm hurt, or it was such a terrible experience, what I went through Saturday and Sunday night, I ain't even talked about Sunday night, Saturday and Sunday night changed the game for me. Like everything that happened before, all of that did not matter anymore. That was something that was probably going to happen anyways, so to hell with it. This changed me. Like this, you know what I think I had to do this for? I really believe this. And I think some of you are going through this too. Sometimes we experience things in our life, I believe, to really let us know who we are. When you get to a certain age, traveling will do that to you. You know what, Dennis? You're right. You used to talk to me about this all the time. If you travel, you'll learn a lot. Travel by yourself. You'll learn so much. So, yeah, he knows why I did it all though, right? But you do all this stuff, so you learn who you are by seeing, experiencing things that are so not who you are, that define you. I know what you're thinking. It's not that, right? Like, I don't care what people do to each other. It did kind of scare me with the disease stuff. But I do know for a fact, like there's no doubt about it whatsoever, that I am not a casual person in that way. I don't do it for sport. Never will. And that's okay with me. I used to feel guilty about that, right? I used to be like, I guess I'm different. I guess something's wrong with me. But no, there's nothing wrong with me. I just like to involve my spirit with it. That's all. And I like to be real selective who I spend my time with. But like when you do things that you like, you're like, yeah, I really like this, or this is me. But when you really experience stuff that's not you, that you don't like, those are the things that tell you who you are, I think, more than anything. And you have to and it's like, you have to do these kind of things in a place where no one's there to assist you or get in your head or put thoughts in your head or try to change your mind about it. You got to do it by yourself so you know. I see that's the problem when it comes to this Void Walker quest we're all on here. We let too many damn people tell us who we are and how we should be. You got people chirping in your ear. You got social media. You got memes. You got your chat rooms. You got your parents, your friends, everybody telling you who the hell you are. But until you do these things on your own, you're not going to know who you are. And the only way you're going to know these things is if you face your fear. And that's something I've learned too. It's like, it's not really the yes man thing, but you don't grow in comfort. I'm sorry, you don't. And I've been a hermit for a long time, wondering why I'm not growing. But all you got to do to grow and learn who you are is get extremely uncomfortable. That's it. Face your fear, get uncomfortable. That's how you get healthy too. Now, from here on out, I know exactly what I want in a partner, and exactly more than that. I don't have to get really detailed about that because that's my business. But Portland taught me that. A dark-ass city taught me that. And yeah, I always did have a dream about traveling. I want to travel to more places. I want to have a big LTV van, drive around, tell you guys stories about what happened to me. And then you can guess where I'm at. Kind of like the old Wolfman Jack days. That would be cool, right? That's what I want to happen. I don't want to be in this shack in Arkansas the whole time. And the technology is coming down the road that I'll be able to do that type of thing. So anyways, the next day, I'm running out of time here. We go to the Shanghai tunnels. Clyde and JD want me and Ron to go investigate the Shanghai tunnels in Portland. Now, the Shanghai tunnels used to be where they had bootleggers, human trafficking, and slave trading. And there's a lot of people that had a lot of bad things happen to them down there. So it's haunted, supposedly. But I don't know. I haven't been on too many investigations, just to be honest with you. And so I was like, well, this is cool. I'm going to go on another trip with Clyde and JD and see what's up. So we go into these underground tunnels underneath Portland. And we've got this tour guide. And this is not like a normal tour. We're there late night. It's a specialty tour because Clyde's a celebrity there, you know. And he's telling us about, like, as soon as you open this door to this tunnel system, there's he looks up in this window and he said, look in that window. There used to be a lady right there, a really pretty lady that would bait you in by waving and all this other stuff. And if you look down the steps, you could see there's steps that went down, and it looked like that you had to go down into the steps and turn to get up to her. But the truth is once you got down to the bottom of there, you can only turn right, and that was it. And as soon as we got down there, it felt creepy as hell. It was musty, it stunk, it was creepy, and it was dark. There were a lot of places where if we didn't have flashlights or whatever, we wouldn't have any light. Now, there's a lot of controversy about all the stuff here, you know, so I can't speak about everything as fact, but I will tell you that there was a speakeasy down there. There's a lot of things that were left over, like this old saloon type speakeasy thing in one room. And in another room, they had, obviously bedrooms for whatever, you know, use your imagination. And then there was another room that we went down, and I'm just kind of summarizing here, where there's this old fighting pit in here. And it's, you know, they had these old ropes and stuff still there where these people used to have underground unlicensed fights. And they told us a story about this guy that used to bite people's ears off and all this stuff. Well, about that time, I hear Clyde start riling up, you know, and he's hollering about something. And he's like, I'm cold. I'm freaking freezing. And so the tour guide, Kyle, he has a FLIR camera, and he turns it and puts it on Clyde, and you could see the cold spots in Clyde's body. And all of a sudden our breath changes. Now everybody can see their breath. And I can't explain it, man. Like, I usually don't buy into this stuff because you see it on TV, like with Zach Baggins and all these people, and they're always trying to make something out that it's not. But something was there. Now, the only time I've ever felt stuff like this is when I was practicing certain types of rituals that would invoke things back in the day when I shouldn't be, and you know something's there, right? It's a presence. Some of you know what I'm talking about. And it's so freaky, man. It makes the tongue, like your tongue starts tasting metallic. It's that scary. You know something's there. Who it was, what it was it the fighter, that guy they were talking about? I don't know. They were talking something about a girl, but we heard voices, we heard taps and bangs, creepy stuff going on. I got like some footage I want to put together for that. I caught that moment when Clyde was freaking out on this crappy phone that just kept dying when I was in there. And that wasn't even the coolest part, man. So everything that I've been through in Portland, you think, man, that was a trip, right? No, I'll tell you the coolest part of my whole trip was the night before I had to leave. I got some life advice from Clyde. Big time advice. We leave this place, and Clyde and I are big boys, so obviously we're hungry. And JD wants something fancy, and we don't want nothing fancy. So instead of fighting, we end up splitting up. And now I'm in the car with Clyde, and he's sitting there, you know, waiting to figure out what JD wants to do. And eventually we go off and eat on our own. And again, total big boy style, we end up in a place on the other side of town that has Chinese food and karaoke on a Sunday night, except there's only like 3 people in this place, maybe, you know. So I'm thinking, wow, so I'm really just hanging out with Clyde Lewis for, like, it seemed like hours. And all we did was ride around and talk before we even found this place. Talking about what I went through when I got here, you know, our relationships, like father to son type talks. This is how it felt. And he pretty much told me the same damn thing that my dad told me about relationships. And I don't want to piss anybody off, so I won't say it, but I know he's right, you know? And I'm feeling like, man, I'm really bonding with this guy here. And he says, you know, you ought to get out more. You ought to move here. There's no opportunity in Arkansas, especially in radio. You should come to Portland. Chill. And I realized for a moment there that as popular as Clyde's show is, there's many people that listen to his show, and he gets a ton of listeners across the United States. It gets real lonely in the city, man. I had to tell certain people in that city who he was. And then once they realized who he was, they were all up in arms, right? That's what I realized is this guy's kind of living a shadow life in this city. But when he gets on air, all of us across the nation love to hear it. But just like me in the shack or me in Portland by myself, I don't know how to explain it, man. I related to him in a big way that I can't explain. And then he sings, I'm a creep, right? What the hell am I doing here? Like there's like 3 people listening and he's just belting out, I'm a creep. You know, in this place. Takes me over to the video poker machine. He shows me a few tricks, buys me one of those calendars. I got it hanging up on the wall here. The Canton Grill, food and takeout. It's funny because I wanted to tell him the story that happened to me Saturday night. I didn't get to tell him everything. And he just laughed and he said, oh man, you don't know this city's crazy. And I said, nah, you know, I thought this was a one night thing. Like this is something that only happens to somebody once in their life. And sure enough, I go outside the Canton Grill to smoke a cigarette and this girl comes walking down the street. What does she want? She wants to bum a cigarette. Of course, everybody wants to bum a damn cigarette. I probably got 2 cigarettes out of every pack that I got. And I said, where are you going? And she said, well, I'm not from here. I said, I'm not either. Where are you going? Well, I'm going to the Taboo Adult Video Store. I said, why the hell are you going down there? You're a pretty girl. She goes, I don't know. You want to hang out? And I was like, wow, that was easy, right? Girl wants to hang out with me. I must be damn good looking. Y'all picking up on this yet? Clyde's in there eating Chinese food by himself. And I'm out here talking to this girl who I think that wants to hang out. But that's not what she meant. I was like, sure, let's hang out. But I don't want to go to that video store. Let's go inside here and eat some Chinese food. And then she tells me, all right, well, it's $80 for an hour. I'm like, what? What are you talking about? $80 for an hour. Well, I'm an escort. I said, oh, you're a hooker. I thought escorts you had to get online and find. You guys just walk down the street, huh? So here again in Portland, you think you're about to this happened to me so many times, man. You think you're about to bond with somebody or, I don't know, make a friend, and it turns out it's another sex thing, you know? And at that point, I swear to God, so many things just kept happening that made me realize who I am. And so we look at all the dark stuff in the world and we think, man, this is bad, da, 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 da. But it's all just judgment. But I think a lot of these things happen to us to tell us who we are, right? I done rambled on this, but There's so much, man, that I didn't tell you guys about that I don't think I could do a part 2 because it's all mixed in. But I'll never forget my time in Portland. I can tell you that. And I'll probably go back eventually. I don't know why I would go back. I just got a feeling I'll be back there at some point. But we do got to get out of here. Holy hell. Yeah, so tomorrow night, Montana Jordan's going to be on. That's going to be a good show. So you probably want to come check that out if you're into the magic and the occult. We're going to talk about our TV show that's going to be on. And for you guys that won, we're getting that out to you as well. And please don't copy the show without written permission. Music was by Chronox, guitar by Bundy. I want to thank Amanda, Markham, all of you guys that have donated, that helped out, Genevieve. Also, I'm probably missing a bunch of your names that helped out, Don, and Jeremy Scott, the program director. See you guys tomorrow night. Up next is The Secret Teachings with Brian Gable. Good night.